Chapter 3165. This discovery was too shocking. The first time might be a coincidence, but the second or third time was definitely not a coincidence. Every time the insect race energy entered his body, it would increase the attack power of the Netherkill Marshal, and he seemed to be enjoying it. Everything had its weakness. The insect race restrained the Hongmeng Sea cultivators, but they were restrained by the Netherkill race. Fortunately, Lin Feng was not really from the insect race, but he cultivated a secret technique that could simulate the insect race's energy. Since the insect race's energy was useless, he could just not use the insect race's appearance and Hongmeng's secret technique. Boom! The Great World incarnation froze and shattered, and Lin Feng was forced to retreat again. The Netherkill Marshal's attack was very fierce. Losing, the army god was the closest to Lin Feng, and he had been paying attention to Lin Feng. After all, this was Lin Feng's first time on the battlefield. Although he did not have much hope for Lin Feng since he was still young, the army god still felt pity when he saw that Lin Feng was at a disadvantage against the Netherkill Marshal. It was not that he was disappointed in Lin Feng, but because Lin Feng could not even kill a Netherkill Marshal. Entering the battlefield was no different from courting death. The army god already had a plan in mind. When this battle ended, he would let Lin Feng return to the Taichu. Being able to kill the insect race did not mean that he could deal with the Netherkill race. Lin Feng is a little reserved. The army god was not the only one paying attention to Lin Feng. Wenxin Holy Man was also one of them. Unlike the army god, Wenxin Holy Man had been with Lin Feng for an era, and he had some understanding of Lin Feng's strength. Although he did not know Lin Feng's full strength, he did not think that Lin Feng could not even deal with a Netherkill Marshal. This was not like the little monster who could cultivate in the dimensional space for an era. Is this all you've got? On the other side, Ichin had already killed an Underworld Marshal. At the same time, he was fighting against two Underworld Marshals and had the upper hand. He was slightly disappointed by the strength that Lin Feng had displayed. He wanted to fight Lin Feng, but he didn't want Lin Feng to be so weak. You're good at internal battles, but useless in external battles. Pope looked on coldly from the side. At this time, he was facing the Great Hell Overlord. Both of them were in a stalemate. Without the support of the will of heaven, Pope's strength was not as strong as when he was in the Taichu. However, no matter how weak Pope was, he was still a supreme ruler of the ultimate universe, and his power was clear for all to see. Let's try Soul Shock again. Lin Feng dodged the attacks of the Netherkiller Marshal while experimenting with a new attack method. Ether Soul Break could be used instantly. The Soul Shock felt like it had hit an extremely hard reef, and the recoil was huge. Brutal. Lin Feng could clearly feel the ferocity of the Netherkiller Marshal. His soul was burning fiercely, crazy, and brutal. It was hard to imagine that the soul would not be damaged by burning like this. Indeed, every race had different structures. At the same time as the Soul Shock, there was not only brutality, but also a trace of coldness that seemed to freeze everything. The Netherkiller Marshal from the Cold Spring Prison had the innate characteristics of the Cold Spring Prison in his soul. The Soul Shock was not without effect. The Netherkiller Marshal's attack paused for a moment, and his brutal state seemed to be slightly affected. However, he recovered in an instant. One had to admit that the Netherkiller Marshal's soul was quite strong. If it were a Netherkiller Marshal or a Nine Hells King, their souls would be even stronger. With his current soul attainments, using Soul Shock to deal with them was undoubtedly like an ant trying to shake a tree. Change to the 100 million wheel 8-front formation and try the illusion. Lin Feng changed to other attacks. He tested one by one. At first, he was confused, but now Lin Feng had gradually figured out the Netherkiller Marshal's attack style. Although the Netherkiller Marshal's power had increased tremendously due to his exploding muscles and brutal state, he was almost comparable to a Netherkiller Marshal. However, his weakness was also very obvious. He was too slow, and his attack style was too simple. Lin Feng was not playing around. Instead, he was testing the Netherkiller Marshal's ability and testing his arsenal to see what attack style was most effective against the Netherkiller Marshal. Whether it was the Netherkiller Marshal, Hellmasters, or even 9 Hell's Kings, they were all nether killers. The same blood flowed in their bodies. For example, the bug tribe's energy was ineffective against the nether killer marshal. It was also ineffective against Hell Masters and 9 Hell's Kings. To be precise, it was the opposite effect. The nether killer marshal could absorb the bug tribe's energy for his own use. It was very similar to how the bug tribe absorbed Hongming's energy. This was completely out of Lin Feng's expectations. After several exchanges, the nether killer marshal became more and more impatient. On the other hand, Lin Feng became more and more casual. He also gained a lot of understanding of the nether killer marshal in this battle. No wonder the nether killer marshal did not use brutal state. No wonder the army god left me as the nether killer marshal. The first level of soul ignition, strengthening, had a lot of side effects compared to the second and third levels. The fourth level of soul ignition, brutal, also had a lot of side effects compared to the fifth level of soul flame. Lin Feng used both techniques against the nether killer marshal. He used an unconventional method. As long as he found the nether killer marshal's weakness, he would be able to defeat him in one fell swoop. His attack power was indeed very strong, but his defense was not that strong. Let's get rid of one first. After accumulating for a long time, he had almost tried everything he could. The battle saber, Snow, Jewel shone brightly. His small world incarnation instantly merged into one. Streaks of golden Hongmeng energy condensed. Lin Feng was like a ferocious tiger awakening. His attack power instantly skyrocketed. 30 layers of destruction. In terms of saber techniques, Lin Feng was not as good as the nether killer marshal. However, his strength was not. Whether it was the golden Hongmeng energy or his own brute strength, Lin Feng was not inferior to the nether killer marshal. The powerful attack condensed from 30 layers of destruction instantly suppressed the nether killer marshal. The nether killer marshal's body shook violently. The dark nether killer marshal's body seemed to have been extinguished. Puff! The nether killer marshal spat out a mouthful of black blood. However, his eyes were even more ferocious. His injuries had stimulated his ferocity. His blood-red eyes were in a state of massacre. Every scar on his body seemed to be telling of his glorious battle achievements. The giant axe, with a faint blue radiance, hacked at Lin Feng again. There is no sign of fear or retreat in the dictionary of the Nether Killer Clan's experts. Battle was their nature and their life. They were fearless and fought with all their might, even if they were not as strong as their opponent. 40 layers of destruction. 50 layers of destruction. Lin Feng attacked again and again, forcefully shattering the underworld armor of the underworld marshal. His sturdy body was stained with black blood. He held a giant axe in his hand, and his killing intent grew stronger with each attack. Boom, boom, boom. The attacks of the Nether Killer Marshal were not only burning their souls, but also their lives. However, the difference in strength between them was still huge. Boom! As Lin Feng's saber landed, the golden Hongmeng energy shattered the body of the Nether Killer Marshal. It also shattered his remaining strength. His muscular body shattered. Black blood flowed out, and his Nether Killer Marshal dissipated. Respectable opponent. This was the first Nether Killer Marshal that Lin Feng had killed. Chapter 3166. This was not a battle that needed to be decided. In addition, Lin Feng was not familiar with the Nether Killer race and was curious about them. Therefore, Lin Feng had spent a lot of time fighting the first Nether Killer Marshal. After that, he killed the second Nether Killer Marshal much faster. With his physical body that was not inferior to the Nether Killer races, the combination of the power of the Golden Hongmeng and the Mountain Core World Incarnation, Lin Feng was able to display his strength without the suppression of his internal universe, even though he could not use his self-created mystic technique, Primordial Transformation. Boom! The Mountain Core World Incarnation erupted. This epic of cultivation allowed Lin Feng's close combat ability to reach a higher level. The power of the second stage battle saber, Snow Jewel, was astonishing. Together with the Dominator Homing's 8 billion wheels front array, it quickly became effective. The Nether Killer race experts had strong physical bodies, strong souls, and strong wills. However, their talent, soul ignition, had flaws. Especially the fourth level, brutal. Heaven, Earth. Lin Feng's golden Hongmeng power condensed. The 8 worlds transformed into 8 strange symbols that looked like a light blue flame burning. In the middle, there was a faint light of the 8 trigrams and a Tai Chi diagram. The 8 strange symbols spun rapidly. The black and white Tai Chi diagram was even clearer. The Dominator Hongmeng's 8 billion wheels front array. Lin Feng now only grasped the illusory ability of the combination of heaven and earth. Heaven and earth were illusory, and the stars moved. Layers of illusions enveloped the Nether Killer Marshal's body. He, who was originally brutal and ferocious, seemed to have crazily barged into a huge maze. He was extremely eager to fight. Although he did not lose his mind, his judgment and decisions had all dropped by a level. The Nether Killer Marshal kept fighting in the illusions, exhausting his strength. He discovered the weakness of the Nether Killer Marshal so quickly. The army god had the upper hand in the battle with the Nether Killer Hell Lord. He had even killed a few Nether Killer Marshals that had surrounded him. Seeing Lin Feng kill the second Underworld Marshal in a row and quickly kill the third Underworld Marshal, he was very satisfied. He had thought that Lin Feng would find it difficult to adapt to the battlefield, and that dealing with the Nether Slayers was not the same as dealing with the insectoids. However, Lin Feng's excellent adaptability and stable combat strength had impressed him. This was the first time he had seen Lin Feng fight. Taichu's invincible rookie was indeed worthy of his reputation. Not bad, but not as good as me. Ichin still had the leisure to pay attention to Lin Feng. The jade bamboo god-slaying spear turned into streaks of flowing light and lightning. Using the weapon's length and his extremely powerful spear art realm, he created his own spear art. Not only were the Netherkill Marshals unable to get close to him, but 4 of them had also been killed in one go. His kill count was double that of Lin Feng's. The 5th one, the jade bamboo god-slaying spear, shone with a green light and instantly enveloped a Netherkill Marshal. The 4th level of soul ignition, brutality, could greatly increase one's strength and close combat ability, but it could easily become a weakness when facing an opponent with strong combat techniques. Therefore, the difference between a Netherkill Marshal and a Hell Lord was huge. This included the unique ability of the 5th level, Soul Flame, which was comparable to the Hongmeng Ocean's dominating Hongmeng source item. The 6 Hell Lords were still brave and good at fighting. The death of a Netherkill Marshal didn't matter to the Netherkill race. In the cruel slaughter of the Netherkill world, one had to fight countless battles and kill to comprehend and level up. Every Netherkill Hell Lord had started killing crazily when they were Netherkill Marshals. They continuously used soul ignition to stimulate the bloodline in their body, exhausting their netherworld power time and time again until they comprehended Soul Flame at the moment of life and death, becoming a Hell Lord. The war was still going on. Whether it was Yi Chun, one Exenao Master, or Lin Feng fighting against the Netherkill Marshals, or the army god, Pope, leader Tianze, and the others fighting against the Netherkill Hell Lords, they were all just drawing the dragon. The real finishing touch, which was also the decisive factor, was still the 2 top great beings. Cold Spring Hell King, Blade Light, and Sword Shadow. The Taichu's most powerful being, Fanzu. One was in charge of offense, the other in charge of defense. They had fought for hundreds of eras and knew each other well. With the combination of the 9 Songs Golden Fall Array and Homing's Laws, Fanzu's defense was strong and indestructible, even though he had used up a lot of energy. The Blade Light and Sword Shadow couldn't break the 9 Songs Golden Fall Array, because they lacked a decisive move to break the array. As long as the 9 Songs Golden Fall Array was not broken, the Taichu's array would not be broken. The group of Ultimate Universe Masters within the 9 Songs Golden Fall Array were strengthened by Fanzu's order and Homing's laws. If their lives were threatened, they would be protected. With Fanzu around, the Taichu would not be defeated. To the Taichu, Fanzu's position was irreplaceable. Ha ha! Awesome! Blade and sword attacked wantonly, and a netherworld power that burst out bombarded the 9 Songs Golden Fall Array again and again. Although he was completely capable of killing Ultimate Universe Masters, Blade and Sword did not attack. From the beginning to the end, the Saber Light and Sword Shadows only attacked Ancestor Fan. I'm having a lot of fun. Blade and Sword's eyes shone brightly, and the distorted W mark between his eyebrows was especially conspicuous. He did not use the 6th level of Soul Ignition, Breaking Extremity. Let's go, little ones. With a loud shout, Blade and Sword attacked with a big move. Endless Saber Light and Sword Shadows intertwined and overlapped like a net of saber and sword, fiercely covering the whole place, attacking indiscriminately, including the War God, the Pope, Chairman Egio, and even Dao, Proving Master, Shlomo, and Lin Feng were all enveloped in this net of saber and sword. It was a terrifying power that could kill everything. Eternal. Ancestor Fan cast his strongest primordial chaos laws. The moment the primordial chaos law, Eternity, which was at the pinnacle of the 9th stage, was cast, all the attacks seemed to turn gentle and natural along with the massive primordial chaos laws, returning to eternity. The 9 Songs Golden Fall Array was like a mother, protecting all her children. The defense of the eternal Hongmeng Law was perfect, and no blade or sword could penetrate it. In the void space, Blade and Sword's lips curved into a devilish smile. At this time, the group of Netherkill prison masters and marshals all retreated, not wanting to continue fighting. Although they were not a dictatorial race like the Bug Tribe, and there was endless killing in the Netherkill world, including the prison masters who coveted the position of Cold Spring Prison King, they were very united against outsiders. Saber Light and Sword Shadow were the strongest warriors in the Cold Spring Prison. They came like the wind and left like lightning. Unlike the Bug Tribe, who sent tens of millions or even hundreds of millions, the Netherkill clan followed the strategy of elites. Every Netherkill clan expert was a warrior with extremely strong single-target attack power. There were less than 100 of them when they came, and only a few dozen when they retreated. Viral leaked in the broken 3rd dimension passage, but it was all blocked by the 9 Songs Golden Fall Array. The Taichu experts led by Fan Zhu smiled knowingly and blocked another attack from the Netherkill clan. However, the smiles on Fan Zhu, Army God, and other experts' faces were extremely forced. This was a great victory, but they could not be happy. Chapter 31:67. Every time the Netherkiller clan launched a war, it was always vigorous. Their attacks were like surging waves, and their retreats were smooth and natural. There was no sign of defeat. Although they left behind dozens of corpses, they were only the most ordinary Netherkiller clan marshals. There were countless casualties like this in the Netherkiller world every era. Indeed, it was not a loss to the Netherkiller clan. The main force led by the Netherkiller clan Helm Masters did not suffer any casualties. After hundreds of eras, the Netherkiller clan Helm Masters had been killed in the 1st Dimension Channel, but not in the 3rd Dimension Channel. It was not only because the Netherkiller clan Helm Masters were strong, but their battle techniques were also very strong. They had experienced hundreds of battles and countless life and death situations. Their control of power and judgment of the situation were excellent. Unless they were as strong as Fan Zhu, it was very difficult to kill a Netherkiller clan Helm Master in an evenly matched battle. Besides, I feel that they are attacking with a purpose, but I'm not sure. Although leader Tianze was not talkative, he always hit the nail on the head. The Army God nodded. He could also see it, but he could not explain it. It doesn't matter if they have a purpose. We can only fight. Fan Zhu had already repaired the 9-tune Golden Fall Array, but he did not recall it to prevent the Netherkiller clan from attacking again. It would be troublesome if he was not prepared. We seem to have one. Chairman Egio blinked to ease the atmosphere. Don't think too much. We'll deal with it as it comes. If we win, we should look like we won. Be happy. Don't look like we lost a battle. Leader Tianze and the Army God looked over. They were still cold and did not smile. Ancestor Fan, on the other hand, revealed a hint of a smile. He knew that President Egio was not being magnanimous, but such emotions would affect the other cultivators. If they were to feel remorseful after winning the battle, What would the other universe masters think? Once their emotions were affected, it would be very disadvantageous for the subsequent battle. Everyone did well. Dao Yin Palace Master smiled and encouraged the universe masters. You killed dozens of Nether Killer marshals without suffering any serious injuries. You defeated the Nether Killer race, especially Sword Killer, when Xin and Ichun. You performed the best. Brahma, the Bodhisattva Tao Venerate, and the Candlelight Guardian God looked over, their battle intent faintly visible. They were all universe masters, and they were all the main forces in the fight against the Nethersha clan. Naturally, they wanted to compete with each other. Everyone hoped to be praised and used. Every time a war ended, Fan Zhu and the 5 Ultimate Universe Masters would commend the Universe Masters who had performed outstandingly, especially the one who had contributed the most. Holy Mang Fruit. Ancestor Fan tossed a fruit of primordial chaos that was as translucent as a red crystal mixed with specks of golden light into the Sword Slaughter Protector's hand. The Sword Slaughter Protector's eyes lit up as he bowed and said, "Thank you, Ancestor Fan. What a pity, we're missing one." Ichin thought to himself. This was not the first time he had fought with the Sword Protector. Of course, he knew that the Sword Kill Guardian had killed a few Netherkill marshals. It was exactly one more than him. In terms of power, Ichin and the Sword Protector were on par, but the Sword Protector's killing power was stronger. In order to get Fan Zhu's reward, the Sword Protector would go all out every time he killed the Sword Protector. The treasures he obtained could basically increase his power by a little. After all, the rewards that Fan Zhu could give out would not be bad. Now, the Sword Protector could be said to be the #1 great being below Ultimate Universe Masters. Even the gap between him and Pope wasn't that big. Lin Feng did well in his first battle. The army god looked over, his expression melting like ice. Haha, this little fellow was a little reserved at first, but he did perform well in the end. Iju narrowed his eyes and laughed. He killed 3 Nethersha marshals, just like Bodhisattva Tao Venerate. On the other side, the Candlelight Guardian God's mouth twitched when he heard the number. He subconsciously stood to the side, feeling a little awkward. Lin Feng had killed 3 Nethersha marshals, which meant he was at the bottom again. Ichin raised his head slightly. He had just been defeated by the Sword Protector, but now he was confident again. He had killed 6 Nethersha marshals, which was twice as many as Lin Feng. Keep it up. Very good. Fan Zhu was recovering the huge amount of energy he had consumed. You killed 3 Nethersha marshals on your first battle. Very good. That's right. I remember that Ichin only killed 1 Nethersha marshal on his first battle, right? Dao Yin Palace Master said. Ichin's face immediately turned red, and the confidence that had just risen instantly collapsed. Indeed, he was completely inferior to Lin Feng at that time. There's no need to compare. We are all comrades on the same front. Iju touched the small tuft of golden hair on his head and was in a good mood. After this battle, we have another era to rest. The Nethersha race's attacks were usually very regular. They would only attack again after an era or so. I have a question, Lin Feng suddenly said. Huh? All the universe masters looked at him. Didn't Nine Hell King comprehend the 6th level of soul ignition, breaking extreme? Why didn't he use it? Lin Feng looked straight at Fan Zhu. He really wanted to know why Blade Light and Sword Shadow, which he had seen, was so close to breaking Fan Zhu's 9 Songs Golden Fall Array, had not used his full strength. The Nethersha race should not be like this. In the previous battle, the Nethersha marshals had used their full strength. There was no reason for Blade Light and Sword Shadow, as a commander, to be holding back. If Blade Light and Sword Shadow could break through the Taichu's defense line, why didn't he do so? Breaking Extreme was far more powerful than the 5th level, Soul Flame. Let me answer on behalf of Fan Zhu, Leader Sky Leader said. Ichin asked this question before. Blade Light and Sword Shadow can indeed use Breaking Extreme, but Breaking Extreme will greatly increase the pressure on the dimensional passageway. According to my estimation, Blade Light and Sword Shadow's basic viral after Breaking Extreme may have already reached 200 viral, and this does not include the explosion of viral during the attack. The dimensional passageway, which has already reached the limit of virile, will easily collapse when the time comes. The Nether Shah race indeed wants to break through our defenses, but it does not mean that they want to take the risk and stake everything. With Blade Light and Sword Shadow's ability, they will only need a few dozen eras to expand the dimensional passageway to 500 virile. It will be easier to attack when the time comes. Lin Feng nodded. No wonder Blade Light and Sword Shadow did not use Breaking Extreme. If the power of the attack increased, coupled with Fan Zhu's defense, the dimensional passageway would collapse and everyone would be destroyed. No one would gain any benefits. Blade Light and Sword Shadow had absolute confidence that after the dimensional passageway was strengthened, they would destroy the dimensional passageway's defenses in one go. Their current attack was more to pressure the Taichu and weaken their own strength. The Nether Shah race was far more shrewd than expected. They were definitely not easy to deal with. Chapter 3168. After a fierce battle, the Nether Killers retreated, and the Taichu experts retreated near the entrance of the dimensional passageway. Everyone had kept their trump cards. The reason why Blade Light and Sword Shadow did not use their full strength was because they were afraid that they would not be able to kill Fan Zhu in a short time and cause the dimensional passageway to shatter irreversibly. In fact, if Fan Zhu also used his killing move, it would end in mutual destruction. Once the dimensional passageway collapsed, everyone would die together. Even a world master was like an ant in the virile space, let alone a universe master. The Nether Killers are indeed in a strange state. As a member of the Taichu, Lin Feng could also feel that the Nether Killers were behaving strangely. They did not seem to be here to win this battle, but to have other motives. However, as Fan Zhu said, no matter what the Nether Killers' motives were, as the defending side, the Taichu experts had no other choice but to fight. However, Fan Zhu is also too calm. Is it because of that dimensional treasure? Lin Feng was very curious. What exactly was that dimensional treasure from the dimensional space? What was its function? How powerful was it? Dimensional treasures, even the most ordinary ones, were equivalent to Homing's source items. His gaze fell on Fan Zhu, who was currently recovering his exhausted strength. Looking at this battle, the one who had consumed the most energy was undoubtedly Fan Zhu. Not only did he have to block the storm-like attacks of Blade Light and Sword Shadow, but he also had to use the Nine Tunes formation to protect every Taichu cultivator. To the Nether Killers, the death of a marshal or even a Hell Master was nothing. However, to the Taichu, the death of a Universe Master was a huge loss. There was only one person who could resist the Nether Killers. The Dao Yin Palace Master, Dao Master when Exine, and Bodhisattva Dao Master had temporarily left. Normally, there would be a period of ceasefire after the end of a battle. After all, the 5 superpowers were giants in the Taichu and had many things to deal with. During the previous ceasefire, the Taichu Inquisition and Pope's group had left. During the previous armistice period, it was the Heavenly Swamp Alliance that left. Fan Zhu and the Army God were the only ones who had never left the third dimension since its appearance. Both of them were the backbone of the Taichu. Fan Zhu was the only world master who could fight against the King of 9 Hells, and the Army God, who had reached the threshold of World Master, could fight against the strongest Hell Master of Cold Spring Hell. The other 4 Ultimate Universe Masters were on par with each other. The Dalian Palace Lord was slightly stronger, while Chairman Egio was slightly weaker. However, there was a limit to how strong and weak they were. As for Pope, if he was in the Taichu realm, he would also be able to reach the threshold of a World Lord with the help of the will of the Heavenly Tao. However, in the Dimensional Channel, his strength was slightly inferior. Lin Feng could clearly feel Pope's hostility towards him, including the Sword Protector and the Candlelight Protector. Previously, they had been united against outsiders, so they did not feel anything. However, now that they were in the same space and it was quiet, the feeling was very clear. However, Fan Zhu knew this hostility, and so did the leaders of the other forces. It was normal for them to have conflicts, and Fan Zhu could not force them to become friends. Lin Feng did not care. If there was hostility, then so be it. When he was in the Tai Chu, Pope could not do anything to him, and in the dimensional channel, he could not do anything to him. His self-created secret technique, Swamp Change, had a negative effect on the Nethersha clan, but it was enough to suppress Pope. Pope did not move, but the other could not wait any longer. Clang! The jade god-killing spear shone brightly, and all the Tai Chu masters focused their attention on it. They saw I Chien walking slowly toward Lin Feng and stopping in front of him. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit, and he pointed the jade, god-killing spear at Lin Feng. "Brother Lin, do you want to fight?" Ever since he saw Lin Feng, I Chien had wanted to challenge him. He was the chief almighty of the Tai Chu, and Lin Feng was the #1 person below the almighty. Their strength was one level lower, but in the Tai Chu, it was rumored that I Chien was inferior to Lin Feng. How could someone as proud as I Chien endure this? He had defeated Lin Feng in the battle with the Nethersha clan, but I Chien did not feel comfortable. Just as the Dao Yin Palace Master had said, I Chien had only killed a Nethersha marshal in his first battle with the Nethersha clan. If they were to compare, he had actually lost on the battlefield. Therefore, I Chien wanted to regain his face and win back his pride. Sure, Lin Feng smiled indifferently. I Chien had wanted to spar with him before. He was not bad, and they were comrades who had fought side by side. There was no harm in having a spar. He had already agreed to it before. "Oh," Chairman I Chien's plump body moved, and he walked over with narrowed eyes. "That's interesting. Let me be the judge." Whoosh. Leader Tian Zhe opened his eyes with great interest. Pope was wearing a calm mask and did not say a word. No one could see his expression under the mask. However, the sword killer god and the candlelight guardian god beside Pope sneered inwardly. In the Tai Chu, even Sir Pope could not do anything to Lin Feng, let alone I Chien. Lin Feng's performance on the battlefield was completely different from his strength in a one-on-one spar. Although he looked like a Yuan Venerate, he was actually a tough nut to crack. Anyone who encountered him would know. Other universe rulers might not understand I Chien's strength, but the sword killer god, who had been sparring with I Chien for 100 eras, knew best. I Chien was indeed very powerful and comparable to a pinnacle universe ruler with the strength of an almighty. However, he was only on par with the sword killer god. He will soon know how stupid he is. The sword killer god would not remind I Chien. Furthermore, I Chien would not believe him even if he did. Let's see how much Lin Feng has improved during this period. The Candlelight Guardian God was the chief strategist of the Tai Chu Inquisition, so he was worried about Pope. Although the underworld kill race was the greatest threat at the moment, Lin Feng's threat to the Tai Chu Inquisition could not be underestimated either. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Lin Feng. Pope felt his heart palpitate in fear as he recalled the battle with Lin Feng. A Yuan Venerate had actually been able to fight him to a draw in the Tai Chu territory. He, the master of the Tai Chu Inquisition, had actually been unable to do anything to him. If this was already the case now, what would happen in the future? However, Pope still had not thought a way to deal with Lin Feng. "Brother Lin, I will go all out once the battle starts." I Chien indeed had the right to be proud. As an almighty, he had already cultivated a super-universe body that many universe rulers could only dream of. After being tempered by Viral, he had become even more tyrannical. Coupled with his self-created 4 god-slaying strikes and his supreme spear technique, his strength was unfathomable. "Me too." Lin Feng took out his battle sword, Snow Jewel, and replied with a smile. The golden power of Hongmeng lingered as the Mountain Core World embodiment was activated. I Chien was definitely not an opponent to be underestimated. "Get ready, you two little fellows." Chairman I Chien smiled and glanced at I Chien and Lin Feng. The small tuft of golden hair on his head swayed gently in anticipation. Let's begin. Chapter 3169. Chi. I Chien attacked first. He went all out in the spar. However, he didn't use his internal universe to suppress Lin Feng, as he felt it was unfair to Lin Feng. However, I Chien worried too much. Even Pope's internal universe couldn't suppress Lin Feng, let alone him. Unforgivable. I Chen's self-created spear technique, God punishing 4 strikes, was as powerful as thunder. Even when fighting against the Nether Sha clan, he wasn't at a disadvantage. Compared to the Nether Sha clan's technique, which was refined through endless battles and killing, I Chen's spear technique had more spirit and power of comprehension. The Taichu's #1 great being wasn't just for show. The spear technique was a top-tier Hongmeng technique. The primordial techniques were similar to the primordial techniques. To the universe dominator level great beings, it was a higher level of upper limit. It was separated into the great beings beginner, elementary, intermediate, advanced, and pinnacle levels, and the dominator level's energy breaker, true pureness, legendary, origin levels. Lin Feng had created the dominator level Hongmeng technique, ether soul, energy breaker. I Chen wasn't only the #1 great being of the Taichu, but he was also known as one of the cultivators with the highest power of comprehension in the Taichu. He could reach pinnacle universe dominator level with the body of a great being, even comparable to an ultimate universe dominator. I Chen's power of comprehension and level were the key. A super universe body didn't mean anything. There were many great beings with super universe bodies. However, no one had a higher level of comprehension and level than I Chen. 10 stages of destruction. In comparison, Lin Feng's blade technique was like the light of a firefly compared to the light of the sun and moon. It couldn't be compared to the first strike of one star god punishing 4 strikes, but the two focused on different things. I Chen focused on the spear technique itself, while Lin Feng focused on fusion. Destruction blade technique wasn't created with blade techniques, but with the blade as the medium fusing with the mountain core world avatar. Hongmeng laws were Lin Feng's main attack. The power of the golden Hongmeng fused with the small world incarnation. Although Lin Feng's realm was inferior to Chen's by a level, this attack was the result of the latter striking to gain the upper hand. His battle saber, Snow Jewel, fell with a clanging sound, radiating a brilliant light. Good. I Chen's eyes widened. Take my second move. Accept your punishment. His spear moves instantly changed, and even I Chen's aura changed. Using the spear to propel the body and propel the attack, One Dawn had completely fused with the spear. The execution of this move made Lin Feng's heart tremble. It was the same realm as Lin Feng's current limit. Dominator rank, energy breaker. However, Lin Feng's soul break technique was Hongmeng's soul shock and One Dawn's spear technique. Boom, boom, boom. The long spear enveloped the entire space in its attack. It was as if every spot was the attacking area of the jade bamboo, god-killing spear. Every spot was a weak spot. When a spear was unleashed, even I Chen's body became extremely huge. Moving with the spear, fusing one's body into the spear moves, using the spear moves to propel everything. Watching from the side, Lin Feng couldn't comprehend it so clearly. However, after exchanging blows with One Dawn, Lin Feng was able to comprehend it wholeheartedly. It was very similar. It was just like how Fan Zhu had fused himself into the 9 Songs Golden Fall array. Not only was it easier to control, but it was also more powerful. Hongmeng Absolute Art and Saber Technique Realm. This was what Lin Feng wanted to improve the most at the moment. Furthermore, One Dawn wasn't like a universe master whose internal universe was extremely strong. He was only a powerful being. After exchanging blows with One Dawn, Lin Feng's comprehension was clearer, especially when there was no pressure from his internal universe. 20 stages of destruction. Comprehension was one thing. Exchanging blows was another. Lin Feng's attacks weren't sloppy at all. The golden Hongmeng power condensed even more deeply. His extremely refined, 100 times ultimate universe body exploded with absolute power. 100 times ultimate universe body was close to a super universe body. However, Lin Feng's body foundation was much stronger than normal. His universe body was also much stronger than his normal universe body. In terms of strength and body, Lin Feng wasn't any weaker than One Dawn. After being tempered by virile, Lin Feng's body strength and strength were no longer the same as before. He was even stronger than One Dawn. His strength is actually stronger than mine. One Dawn was repelled once again. His entire arm was numb, and his heart was filled with shock. He was extremely confident in his own strength, which was enough to rival an ultimate universe master. However, he was defeated by Lin Feng. The first exchange could be considered a small test of one's strength. However, the second exchange was the real deal. There were no more excuses to be found in a head-on fight. It wasn't just One Dawn who was shocked. The surrounding Taichu powerhouses also widened their eyes. Lin Feng was so powerful. How could a Yuan venerate be so strong? It was too terrifying. On the other hand, the Taichu Inquisition, Pope, and the others weren't surprised at all. Instead, they took it for granted. What a joke. Lin Feng was a monster that even Pope couldn't deal with. Although they were enemies and not friends, it was precisely because of this that the absolute beginning Divine Inquisition knew how powerful Lin Feng was. Right now, Lin Feng hadn't even used 10% of his strength. Brother Lin, be careful with the next move. After being thwarted twice in a row, One Dawn felt embarrassed. The jade bamboo, god-killing spear trembled, and his body merged with the spear once again. Before the spear move was executed, the realm and aura of the spear were already different. It was violent, fierce, and invincible. At the moment, One Dawn's murderous intent was clear and clear. His eyes glowed brightly, and the jade bamboo, god-killing spear also let out a resounding clang as an emerald light bloomed and enveloped the entire area. It was very similar to the Snow Jade second stage. His realm, strength, and body were all integrated into the spear move. The third move of the four god-killing strikes, killing violence, and resolving rebellion. One Dawn's aura erupted completely, as if he had returned to the time when he was fighting against the Netherkill race powerhouses. He was truly going all out because he knew that he wouldn't have any chance of winning if he held back. As for whether he would hurt Lin Feng, One Dawn couldn't care less. The chairman and Fan Zhu weren't far away. Even if he hurt Lin Feng, it would at most be a minor injury. He didn't want to lose. Zhen Pu Hongling's ultimate technique. It was a realm that even universe rulers rarely comprehended, yet had appeared in the hands of an almighty. Shalumo, the candlelight guardian god, and the others were envious. If they had such comprehension and created such an ultimate technique, their strength would be far greater. Heart-defying secret technique. Lin Feng didn't hold back anymore. The heart-defying secret technique that he didn't even use against the Netherkill race marshal was immediately activated. The golden Hongmeng power bloomed endlessly, and the aura that had been suppressed by One Dawn finally surged. The Snow Jade second stage was also activated. A snow-white Ning Jade godly beast with shiny claws appeared in the void. The small world avatars overlapped under the guidance of the large world avatars. The innate Hongmeng law of destruction condensed into a red pattern that connected into a single entity and transformed into a near-perfect move. 50 layers of annihilation. Lin Feng shouted as he charged forward to meet Yichun. Lin Feng didn't use insect emergence and gray transformation, not only because he didn't want to take advantage of One Dawn, but also because Lin Feng wanted to truly experience the Zhen Pu Hongling's ultimate technique and see what realm it was. Lin Feng also had great comprehension. Chapter 3170. I'm taking a day off to sort out the outline for Blade Shatters the Galaxy. Please wait for a moment. Once the content is updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 3171. One had a higher cultivation base and a stronger spear technique. The other's basic ability was better, and his energy was almost comparable to a world lord's. Lin Feng hadn't used his full strength, but he had still suppressed Yichun. This wasn't because Yichun wasn't strong. His true unadorned spear technique could destroy a powerhouse from the underworld kill race easily. However, Lin Feng's golden Hongmeng power, which was formed from 50 small realms, had completely erupted and crushed Yichun in terms of power. The heart-defying secret technique had also expanded Lin Feng's advantages in all aspects. Strength overcame everything. Boom! Lin Feng's saber technique blasted Yi Chen's attack apart. Yi Chen had an ugly look on his face, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Lin Feng's strength had far exceeded Yi Chen's expectations, especially the power of his attack. It was really unbelievable. Yuan Venerate. In terms of energy intensity alone, he was actually comparable to a world lord. So this is the Hongmeng Goal Body. Besides the universe rulers, Fan Zhu was also paying attention to this battle. Both Yi Chen and Lin Feng were the future hopes of the Taichu. Among the 5 great world lords, only Primal Chaos Dao Lord possessed the Hongmeng Goal Body. Lin Feng's path was very similar to Primal Chaos Dao Lord's. However, Primal Chaos Dao Lord hadn't been as strong as Lin Feng when he had been a Yuan Venerate. Now, Primal Chaos Dao Lord had become the strongest world lord and was guarding the first-dimensional passageway. This kid will definitely become a great talent. Fan Zhu had always had a high opinion of Lin Feng. This was also why he had been willing to lower himself and help Lin Feng back then. Perhaps Lin Feng's birth wasn't that high, but every step he took along the way was solid. Now, looking at the Taichu and even the Hongmeng Sea, there wasn't a second person like Lin Feng. Light, the #1 genius of the Grand Change Origin Chaos universe and the only disciple of the Chaos Dao Lord, possessed the battle prowess of a world lord and was indeed stronger than Lin Feng. However, Fan Zhu knew very well that once Lin Feng became a mighty figure, he would be on par with Light or even stronger. From Lin Feng, Fan Zhu seemed to see another figure, a solitary and indifferent figure that was invincible in the Hongmeng Sea. Fan Zhu inwardly sighed in regret. If we had done all we could to help Genesis Supreme, even if we couldn't destroy the insect race, our relationship wouldn't have been broken beyond repair. With him around, the dimensional passageway will definitely be in a completely different state. Netherkill Clan, what is there to fear? Fan Zhu closed his eyes. It wasn't that the Hongmeng Sea didn't have any super experts, but that super expert had given up on the Hongmeng Sea. Emperor Gu Huang. The other universe lords might not know how strong Gu Huang was, but Fan Zhu knew, and so did the other world lords. The Chaos Dao Lord had just stepped into the threshold of the strongest world lord, but when Gu Huang quelled Genesis Supreme's calamity, he was already the peak of the strongest world lord. All right, that's enough. Chairman 1 separated Lin Feng and Yi Chen at the right time. This was a very good time. Although the sparring had reached its climax, there was still no clear victor. They had yet to use their strongest killing moves. If it was a challenge, now was not the time to end it. However, it was just right for a sparring match. I haven't lost yet. Yi Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Although his expression was ugly, the fighting spirit in his eyes had reached its peak. He had been at a disadvantage in the previous exchange and had suffered some minor injuries. He had only used 3 of the 4 god-slaying strikes. The 4th, the strongest, had yet to be used. I didn't say you lost. Chairman 1's expression was calm. His slightly round body had the air of a general. This is just a sparring match. There won't be a winner. Chairman 1 understood Yi Chen. He and Lin Feng were 2 completely different kinds of geniuses. One kind of genius was born from the grassroots and grew willfully like stubborn weeds, fighting for survival. For example, Lin Feng. Another kind of genius was like the most precious orchid. They were carefully nurtured and given the best conditions. Their talent was the best in the Hongmeng Sea, and if they worked hard enough, their achievements would be limitless. For example, Yi Chen. However, such geniuses were often very arrogant. This was because their environment had been like this since they were young. While confidence gave them enough strength, it also planted other seeds in their hearts. But Yi Chen clenched the jade bamboo god-slaying spear tightly. His hands were trembling, and his teeth were chattering. He was not convinced. Although Chairman 1 said that, Yi Chen was very clear that he had been suppressed by Lin Feng in the previous exchange. If it ended like this, he would be the loser. He looked at Lin Feng with provocation and fighting spirit. Lin Feng did not mind. Actually, Lin Feng wanted to continue the sparring match, but Chairman 1 had come out. Lin Feng could not say anything. After all, they were on the same side, and Chen was part of the Geo Corporation. That's enough. As Chairman 1 of the Geo Corporation, he had personally nurtured Chen. How could Chairman 1 not understand this child of his? While he was shocked by Lin Feng's extraordinary strength, Chairman 1 did not want to crush Chen's confidence. However, it seemed that Chen was unwilling to end the sparring match in such a forceful manner. Now, Chairman 1 was in a difficult position. If the match continued, he knew that Chen would definitely lose. This child was proud and arrogant. If he lost to Lin Feng, it would be a huge blow to him. I want to fight. Chen looked at Chairman 1, his eyes burning with fighting spirit. He had a strong desire to fight. Chairman 1's gaze swept past Fan Zhu and the army god, but the two clearly did not want to interfere. It was as if they were letting Chairman 1 handle the matter himself. As the saying went, even an upright official would find it difficult to resolve family disputes. Even Fan Zhu and the army god would not side with Lin Feng. After all, Chen was their child. If we continue, we will lose. On the other side, the sword protector sneered disdainfully. Although it was soft, it did not escape Chen's ears. His eyes immediately turned red as anger surged. What did you say? Chen and the sword protector had always been competing. They were like fire and water. The sword protector pursed its lips and was about to retort when it faintly sensed an unfriendly aura. It immediately swallowed the words it wanted to say. The candlelight protector beside it shook its head helplessly. It thought to itself that its old friend had a big mouth. All right, Chen. Chairman 1 saw this and felt helpless in his heart. He knew what the sword protector wanted to say. He also felt that Pope was faintly unhappy under his mask. The rulers of the universe did not know what had happened in the Taichu not long ago, but he knew very well. You haven't fully grasped the fourth strike of the four god-slaying strikes, the heavenly punishment and earthly annihilation. It's hard for you to control it, and it's easy for you to injure yourself. Chairman Gio said earnestly, "We're just sparring, so stop when it's appropriate." Furthermore, Chairman 1 looked at Lin Feng and said slowly, "Even if you successfully use heavenly punishment and earthly annihilation, you will not win against Lin Feng." Not long ago, Lin Feng had a decisive battle with Pope. They were evenly matched. Chapter 3172. Evenly matched. Chairman Egio's words shocked all the cultivators. They already had a high estimation of Lin Feng's power, but it was hard to imagine that he could fight Pope to a draw. If these words came from other sources, they might be doubtful, but from Chairman Egio, basically, it was close to the truth. Everyone knew that the Taichu's strongest intelligence network was the Egio Corporation. Pope was still wearing his calm mask. He didn't say anything, nor did he deny it. It was like he was silently admitting it. Combined with what the Sword Slayer Protector had said, the great beings instantly understood. Pope had left a look for Lin Feng. Since returning, all the other Ultimate Universe rulers had communicated with Lin Feng. Only Pope hadn't. There seemed to be some problem between them. A look of shock appeared on Chen's face. His original fighting spirit instantly vanished into nothingness. No matter how confident he was, he knew that he was no match for the Pope. Naturally, President Chen would not speak without thinking when he said these words. After all, Pope was beside him. Lin Feng could actually fight Pope as an equal? Was this a joke? In other words, until now, Lin Feng hadn't used his full power. Chen's expression was ugly. He had always thought that he was the one holding back. He didn't expect that Lin Feng would be the one holding back. If what Chairman Egio said was true, that Lin Feng could match Pope's power, cold sweat seeped out of Chen's back. At least he could still retain some dignity. If he went all out and was defeated by Lin Feng in front of so many people, he would lose all his face. Seeing Chen's expression constantly changing, Lin Feng broke the awkward atmosphere and bowed slightly. "Thank you for your advice. Lin Feng has benefited greatly." "Brother Lin, you're too polite. I'm the one who has benefited greatly." Chen was also a sensible person. If there was a way out, he would naturally take it. Could it be that he was still stuck in a deadlock? Besides, he and Lin Feng had no enmity or grudge to begin with. It was better to befriend such a super genius than target him. Could Brother I Chin please give me some pointers on the spear technique just now? When he heard I Chin's words, Lin Feng went along with it. On one hand, he could use this to gain some comprehension in terms of realms and comprehend things by analogy. On the other hand, he could also make I Chan gain some face, killing two birds with one stone. No problem. I Chin's eyes also brightened. He was overjoyed that Lin Feng had given him so much face. In an instant, the little bit of unhappiness from before vanished like smoke in thin air. Come, let's go over there. Okay. Lin Feng smiled and followed him. The departure of the two instantly caused the entrance of the dimensional passageway to lapse into a momentary silence. However, numerous pairs of eyes remained on the body of the chairman for a long time, especially Pope. His arms were crossed in front of his chest as he stared fixedly at the chairman. Unknowingly, the calm mask on his face had turned into a furious mask. Ha ha ha! President Yi Jiu laughed dryly at Pope to resolve the awkwardness. Owl! Fanzu suddenly opened his mouth. Fanzu! Pope's gaze shifted to Fanzu. Owl was his real name. Can you resolve this? Fanzu asked. Pope was silent for a moment before shaking his head. This is not what I wish for. Understood. Fanzu knew that Pope often had no choice. As the head of the Taichu Inquisition, he had to be responsible for the will of the heavens. Although he did not say much, Fanzu understood the gist of it. Many thanks. Pope bowed his head. The bigger picture is more important, Fanzu said. The grudge between you and Lin Feng can be discussed in the future. I will not interfere. Okay, Pope agreed. Although his words were short, there was a lot of information. Leader Tian Zhe and the war god had always been meticulous and did not say anything. It was as if everything that had just happened had nothing to do with them. President Yi Jiu stroked the tuft of golden hair on his head with interest and smiled faintly. He knew that Fan Zhu favored Lin Feng. Lin Feng's mountain core world incarnation was obtained with Fan Zhu's help. Fan Zhu saw Lin Feng as the future of the Taichu and his successor. However, in the current environment, the Minsha clan was attacking aggressively. As the strongest person in the Taichu, Fan Zhu had to shoulder a heavy responsibility. He had to unite all the top experts in the Taichu. The Taichu Inquisition could not be left out. Therefore, Fan Zhu protected Lin Feng until the end of the Minsha clan's invasion in exchange for the protection and help of the Taichu Inquisition. Given Pope's personality, he won't compromise so easily. After a long time, the chairman could also see that the Pope already had absolute killing intent towards Lin Feng, the kind that would not rest until one of them was dead. Ancestor Fan had a good plan. Now, that Lin Feng could stand up to the Pope as an equal, would he still fear the Pope in the future? However, Fan Zhu was not stupid. He promised Fan Zhu on the surface, but he had plenty of opportunities in the dimensional passage secretly. After fighting with Pope for so many eras, President Yi Jiu knew Pope's temperament very well. However, Lin Feng is not easy to deal with. President Yi Jiu was not worried. Pope could not kill Lin Feng in the Taichu Origin Chaos universe. It would be even more difficult now. He did not have the power of the heavenly Tao here, and his strength was inferior to the Taichu. Moreover, Lin Feng had improved in the dimensional passage. There was no limit at all. With every era, Lin Feng would improve. It would not be easy for Pope to kill Lin Feng. In front of the dimensional passage, Lin Feng was humbly asking I Chin for advice. I Chin also taught him everything about the 4 god-slaying strikes without holding back. I Chin wanted to get to know Lin Feng and was satisfied to be able to teach Lin Feng. Although his strength might not be as good as Lin Feng's, at least in terms of realm, he was higher than Lin Feng. Yes. Oh, so that's how it is. Oh. Lin Feng humbly asked for advice and immersed himself in his cultivation. His choice was correct. In terms of realm, even if he asked Fan Zhu now, he would not gain as much as asking I Chin. On one hand, he had just exchanged blows with I Chin and knew the foundation of his spear moves. On the other hand, I Chin taught him without holding back and even told him about the various realizations he had when creating his spear moves. It was as if Lin Feng had created his own spear moves. Furthermore, I Chin's comprehension and realm were relatively high. His age was close to Lin Feng's, and their communication was very smooth. If Lin Feng had any doubts or difficulties in his comprehension, I Ching would immediately voice them out and even demonstrate them. Under I Ching's guidance, Lin Feng's cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. Although he was temporarily unable to reach I Ching's realm, Lin Feng already had a lot of comprehension in terms of the creation of absolute arts and secret techniques. Spear techniques and blade moves were all interlinked. In terms of realm, it was more of a level with emphasis on the form and not the form. It just so happened that when Xian Dao Master was not around, after Lin Feng and I Ching got to know each other, they started to cultivate together in the dimensional passage. No discord, no concord. I Ching's personality was not bad, but he was a little arrogant. This was the common characteristic of geniuses. I Ching was also deeply impressed by Lin Feng, not only in terms of sparring, but also in terms of realm guidance. It was said that his comprehension was frightening and surpassed that of the Tai Chu. However, in I Ching's opinion, Lin Feng's comprehension was truly frightening. It was even monster. Book Guest House Reading Website. Chapter 3173. Lin Feng's perception was strong, and it was not wrong for him to improve his saber techniques quickly. However, this was not only because of his perception, but also because of the cultivation environment. The dimensional passageway and the dimensional space were at a level far higher than the Hongmeng Sea. There were no boundaries or limits here, and it was all-encompassing. Creating and comprehending saber techniques was naturally twice the result with half the effort. Ever since Lin Feng entered the dimensional passageway, every cultivator he met was at a higher realm than him, including the marshals of the Underworld Kill clan. Under the subtle influence, Lin Feng was able to comprehend many things. The environment had a huge impact on a cultivator. When all the cultivators in a place were at a high realm, it would unknowingly pull up the average line. Furthermore, Lin Feng's perception was not weak, and now he had a responsible teacher. In terms of realm, I Ching was more than qualified to be Lin Feng's teacher when it came to the creation of Hongmeng's secret techniques. In a short era, Lin Feng had improved rapidly. Qi, a powerful and domineering saber, directly broke the dimensional passageway's barrier. In an instant, a figure appeared from the broken barrier. It was I Ching, who had been cultivating in the dimensional space. In this era, Lin Feng acted as I Ching's guardian and allowed him to enter the dimensional space to cultivate. Coincidentally, Lin Feng was also cultivating and comprehending saber techniques. This was killing two birds with one stone. I Ching was not like Lin Feng, who cultivated for an era after entering the dimensional space. He was not that powerful. After cultivating for a period of time, I Ching had to return to the dimensional passageway to recover. During this period of time, he could give Lin Feng pointers. Regardless of whether it was the coordination or the timing, it was excellent. However, this time, I Ching's eyes were filled with disbelief. He looked at the saber in Lin Feng's hand and asked, "It's done?" "Yes, it's done." Lin Feng nodded slightly. The saber essence of the saber was still present, and he could not hide it from I Ching. Lin Feng did not intend to hide it from I Ching. I Ching had participated in every process of his saber practice and had given many suggestions. "Attack me." I Ching was shocked. Lin Feng nodded. In a split second, his entire body and the battle saber snow jewel had merged perfectly. His strength had completely merged with the saber, and he had merged with the saber intent. He did not have any extra thoughts, nor did he have too many tricks. He used the saber to drive everything, and it was a natural move. Boom! It was an explosive strike. He could not feel the power of the golden Hongmeng. It was all in the saber move. Bang! I Ching held the jade bamboo, god-slaying spear, and used all his strength to forcefully block Lin Feng's strike. The boundless and vigorous energy caused his right hand to go numb. Even though Lin Feng's blade intent wasn't too strong, the might of this move was already rather terrifying. Step! I Ching staggered backward before regaining his footing. His eyes were filled with disbelief. It really worked. Although he knew that Lin Feng had a high level of comprehension and had been absorbing and improving rapidly during this period of time, I Ching was still deeply shocked when he saw Lin Feng create a saber move. It had only been a single era. Furthermore, the Hongming absolute art that Lin Feng had created was not a powerful one, but a dominator one. Although it was a Hongming absolute art that had just entered the dominator level, countless dominators of the universe had never been able to cross this threshold in their entire lives. I Ching recalled the difficulties and hardships he had gone through to create the Hongming absolute art. He had spent close to 100 eras to cross this threshold. He felt as if his heart had died. He had been dealt a blow. The level of comprehension and confidence that he was so proud of had collapsed like a tower in front of Lin Feng. It's still not complete. Lin Feng had only just comprehended it. The saber move was like an embryo that still needed to be polished. It was only a flash of inspiration not long ago that led to this saber move. The saber intent has been formed. I Ching replied in a daze. He didn't know if he was happy or sad. His emotions were extremely complicated. The rest is just some fine work. Slowly polish it and strive for perfection. In this era, it was he who had been teaching Lin Feng about the saber intent and the realm. He should be happy that Lin Feng had created this saber move. However, I Ching couldn't feel happy no matter what. Forget it. He's a monster. I can't compare with him. I Ching could only comfort himself in this way to feel better. He knew that if he continued to compare himself with Lin Feng, he would probably have a mental barrier and it would be difficult for him to improve his cultivation. That's right, Lin Feng. Your saber move just now seemed a little familiar. I Ching suddenly recalled and frowned slightly. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Originally, I didn't create it so quickly. However, when I was cultivating, I had a flash of inspiration. The battle with the Nether Killer clan appeared. I was vaguely inspired by their life-bound weapons. That's why I created it. I see. I Ching was enlightened. No wonder it was so similar. Lin Feng's saber move reminded him of the Nether Killer clan's attack. The Nether Killer clan nurtures their life-bound weapons. They are born as one. The level of their weapon usage and moves are usually extremely high. I Ching said, using their attack methods as reference. Oh, it's quite novel. I Ching sunk into deep thought. Lin Feng's sudden pointers had given him new insights. I Ching was different from Lin Feng. Lin Feng was born unorthodox. He grew up willfully and comprehended freely. However, I Ching took it one step at a time. He was nurtured like a school. His systematic learning and cultivation of spear moves, as well as the creation of Hongming's secret techniques and his insights were all orthodox. However, sometimes being overly orthodox would limit I Ching's creativity. All along, I Ching's Hongming secret techniques had reached a bottleneck when he created the fourth move of the 4 God-punishing strikes. It was difficult for him to improve further. However, Lin Feng's unintentional pointers had given I Ching a brand new feeling. Since he couldn't walk down the orthodox path, why not try to integrate some other insights? I Ching was more familiar with the Nether Killer clan than Lin Feng. Clang! The jade bamboo god-slaying spear in his hand moved. It seemed to have felt its master's bottleneck loosen. It was resounding and shining, emitting a vigorous energy. It shook the dimensional passage until it rang. Chi! 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 I Ching immediately entered a state of enlightenment. Oh, Lin Feng was rather surprised. However, he was also happy for I Ching. After interacting with him for an era, he knew that I Ching's spear creation was only a step away from the legendary level of the sovereign rank. However, this step was like a heavenly moat. It was extremely difficult to cross. Now that there was a chance, Lin Feng was naturally happy for I Ching. Furthermore, if I Ching could break through the legendary level of the Hongming secret techniques, he would be able to seek guidance from I Ching. During this era of cultivation, Lin Feng realized that the knowledge he had obtained from I Ching was very basic and orthodox. It was like layers of bricks laid on the ground, allowing him to build a solid foundation. It was very important. Based on this foundation, he made a breakthrough with a flash of inspiration. In an instant, he took a critical step forward. However, the fact that Lin Feng was able to execute this saber strike had something to do with the fact that he had created the ethereal soul energy breaker secret technique. Lin Feng's realm was already at that level, but he lacked some saber arts and saber intent comprehension and foundation. Now, success was naturally achieved. Since this saber technique was created to deal with the Nether Killer clan and was also comprehended from the Nether Killer clan, then I shall call it Nether Murdering Saber Technique. Chapter 3174. As he perfected the dark murdering saber technique, Lin Feng slowly polished it. Saber intent was the foundation of a saber technique, just like the complete melody of a song. However, the arrangement of the song was also very important to be able to present the song completely and embellish it to perfection. This was a fragmentary process, and Lin Feng enjoyed it immensely. He did not enter the dimensional space to cultivate. Firstly, Lin Feng did not want to disturb him and waste this opportunity. Secondly, it had been an era since the last attack by the Nether Killer clan. According to the Nether Killer clan's usual practice, their attack frequency was usually between 1 and 2 eras. In other words, the Nether Killer clan could attack at any time in the next era. He could slowly cultivate in the dimensional space. Lin Feng was not in a hurry to polish the new saber technique. When the time came to battle with the Nether Killer clan, not only could he increase his attack power and increase his attacking methods, but he could also use this opportunity to comprehend more saber intent. Next time, I will look for a Nether Killer clan marshal with a saber. Lin Feng had already made up his mind. The one that left the deepest impression on Lin Feng was naturally the Nine Hells King Sword Light that he fought with Fan Zhu. His saber technique realm was far beyond Lin Feng's reach. However, fighting with Sword Light now was simply courting death. After familiarizing himself with the Nether Killer clan's attacking methods, Lin Feng was still confident that he could fight with the Nether Killer clan's Hellmaster. However, it would be difficult to comprehend the saber technique then. After all, it was a life and death battle. If he wanted to secretly learn, it would be best if it was within his control. This was the case when he sparred with I Chen previously. Lin Feng was also confident that he could fight with the Nether Killer clan marshal. Now, Lin Feng hoped that the Nether Killer clan would arrive quickly. However, this was not up to him to decide. Whether the Nether Killer clan would attack or not, it seemed to depend on his mood. Dimensional Channel. Lin Feng gently touched the channel's barrier. This was formed by the will of manifestation. Lin Feng knew that his control of the will of manifestation was far from reaching this level. Through the dimensional channel's barrier, he could clearly feel the violent, murderous aura of the Nether Killer clan. There was quite well honed. How did the Nine Hells monarch recover his will? Lin Feng was very curious. Ever since the last time he expanded the golden heart of the universe, his will had been empty. Although the golden heart of the universe could be slowly nurtured, the nurturing speed was rather slow. A whole era, only a tiny bit. There must be a convenient way to recover. Lin Feng sighed softly. He had asked Fan Zhu about it before, but the old man didn't know either. Fan Zhu didn't usually use will manifestation. If the will of a Nine Hells King could only rely on itself to slowly recover, how could he reinforce the dimensional passageway? Although only one era had passed, Lin Feng could clearly feel that the load-bearing capacity of the third-dimensional passageway, viral, had increased once again. With every increase in viral, the threat to the Taichu and the Hongmeng Sea would increase. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. The universe in his body revolved and tried to absorb the will of the dimensional passageway. In an instant, a majestic and tyrannical force hit his mind. That was the killing will of the Nine Hells King, Blade Light, and Sword Shadow. It exploded in Lin Feng's mind with a boom, and the impact was 100 times stronger than when he touched the dimensional passageway. One was just a touch. The other was to directly absorb it into his body. A blood-red color flashed in Lin Feng's eyes. It seemed to be the fighting will of the Nether Killer race, but it was instantly suppressed by Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't absorb much. Blade Light and Sword Shadow's strength was indeed much stronger than Lin Feng's, but his will wasn't much stronger. Since they were both World Lords' wills, Lin Feng wasn't weak. The killing will of the Nine Hells King quickly disappeared, and the remaining powerful force remained in Lin Feng's body. As the universe in his body revolved, it was slowly absorbed and turned into drops of energy that flowed into the golden heart of the universe. Indeed, Lin Feng was overjoyed. Previously, he had been guessing that since he could absorb the energy of the Zerg, could he absorb the energy of the Nether Killer race as well? The will of the Nine Hells King was different from will. The will of the Nether Killer race had a physical body. Indeed, he could absorb it. Although the absorption process wasn't easy, and he would be attacked directly by the will of the Nine Hells King, Lin Feng didn't care. In fact, it was a good thing. He could train his own will while absorbing it. The dimensional passageway is a complete entity, but it's also not. Since the dimensional passageway can be strengthened, it can also be dismantled. Lin Feng smiled. Originally, he was still worried about how to recover the will of the Nine Hells King. The answer was right in front of him. Having absorbed it the first time, Lin Feng was familiar with it and quickly began to absorb it again. The virtual image of Blade Light and Sword Shadow appeared in his mind, and the killing aura exploded as if it wanted to destroy Lin Feng's will. However, the killing aura instantly disappeared and turned into Lin Feng's own energy. I can absorb a little more. The training effect will be better that way. In the golden heart of the universe, the empty will of the Nine Hells King was connected to a water pipe. Drops of will of the Nine Hells King were absorbed by the perfect internal universe and then transformed. In the golden heart of the universe, the will of the Nine Hells King began to recover. Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction. On one hand, he could weaken the dimensional passageway. On the other hand, he could recover his will of the Nine Hells King. On the other hand, he could train his will, killing 3 birds with 1 stone. It's such a simple thing. If I can think of it, there's no reason why Fan Zhu can't think of it. Why didn't he do it? Lin Feng was curious. Even if Fan Zhu couldn't absorb the will of the Nine Hells King, it shouldn't be a problem for him to resist the impact of the will. This way, he could at least weaken the energy of the dimensional passageway and alleviate the impact of the Nether Killer race. I'll ask Fan Zhu when the time comes. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. Nether Killer Dimension World, Cold Spring Hell. The light blue cold spring was flowing slowly, making sounds like ice breaking. The Cold Spring Hell King, Blade Light and Sword Shadow, was naked from the waist up. His legs were submerged in the cold spring, and a steady stream of will of the Nine Hells King surged out of his body to strengthen the dimensional passage. They should have rested enough. Let's walk another wave and absorb some energy. Stupid Hongmeng Sea cultivators, you'll become food for the new emperor. Ha ha! Blade Light and Sword Shadow's evil smile hung on his face. He didn't care about whether or not he could attack the dimensional passage. The cultivators of the Hongmeng Sea were like mantises trying to stop a chariot in front of Blade Light and Sword Shadow. The only problem now was that the dimensional passage couldn't bear enough weight. Once the dimensional passage was strengthened enough, the Nether Killer clan could easily flatten the Hongmeng Sea, a bunch of weaklings who only know how to use treasures. Blade Light and Sword Shadow's eyes were filled with disdain. Their Nether Killer clan was a famous fighting clan in the dimensional space. How could those low-level clans compare to them? Soon, the dimensional passage just needs to be strengthened. Blade Light and Sword Shadow was slightly stunned. He suddenly realized that the dimensional passage was a little strange. No, it was very strange. What's going on? Blade Light and Sword Shadow's eyes widened. After 1.5 centuries of strengthening, not only did the dimensional passage not strengthen, it even weakened a little. Chapter 3175. There's something going on at home for Blade shattering the galaxy. Please wait for a moment. After the content is updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 3176. It was possible for dimensional passageways to be weakened, but it was rare. That was because dimensional spaces were relatively stable. Even if it happened, it would only cause the distance between the two-dimensional worlds to increase. However, such a weakening could be clearly sensed by Blade Light and Sword Shadow. It was like an already tight rubber band being stretched. It was not a weakening of the dimensional passageway, but a strong pressure on Blade Light and Sword Shadow. However, The weakening of the dimensional passageway was not the case. It was as if it was being eaten by an unknown creature and was inexplicably weakened. Blade Light and Sword Shadow could not sense it at all. Did we encounter a virile monster? The Netherkill clan knew more about dimensional spaces than the Hongmeng Sea. There were naturally virile monsters in dimensional spaces that grew by absorbing virile. It was rare but terrifying. Even if we encountered a virile monster, it would at most destroy the dimensional passageway. There is no reason for it to weaken the dimensional passageway. Blade Light and Sword Shadow focused and sensed the dimensional passageway. His materialized will had completely merged with the dimensional passageway. At this moment, Blade Light and Sword Shadow had turned into the dimensional passageway, and his will covered everything. He had to carefully examine what was happening to the dimensional passageway. Was it a creature from another dimensional world that fed on the materialized will? Or was it a change in the dimensional space itself that caused the dimensional passageway to change? Or was the dimensional passageway distorted due to distance, causing it to be damaged and its structure to change? There are too many possibilities. A failure to reinforce the passageway for 1.5 eras was a small matter. It would not matter even if it took 10 eras or 100 eras. The Netherkill clan could afford to wait, but the problem had to be solved. Otherwise, the dimensional passageway would be completely destroyed, and it would be troublesome. Wah! Blade Light and Sword Shadow could clearly sense the condensation of the materialized will. Soon, they found the source. It was at the end of the dimensional passageway near the Hongmeng Sea. The dissipation of the materialized will was there. It was like a wine barrel with a small hole, and fine wine flowed out. Although it was very small and was not worth mentioning compared to the entire dimensional passageway, it was a continuous destruction. It's a cultivator from the Hongmeng Sea. Blade Light and Sword Shadow's heart trembled. He was the one who built the dimensional passageway. As long as he condensed his will, he could clearly see everything in the dimensional passageway, just like the heavenly will in the origin chaotic universe. Absorbing my materialized will? Aren't you afraid of affecting your cultivation? Oh, a little fellow. Blade Light and Sword Shadow frowned. He was extremely unfamiliar with Lin Feng. Even after searching through his memories, he couldn't find any impression of him. It seemed like he hadn't seen him in the past 100 eras. What is this? Sacrificing a little guy to delay the progress? Blade Light and Sword Shadow snorted in disdain. How could his materialized will be so easy to absorb? Once absorbed, it would linger in the cultivator's body. Not only would it be a hindrance to the cultivator's cultivation, it would also have a great impact on their strength. However, if an ordinary cultivator were to absorb it, it would be equivalent to a suicide bomb. You do have some tricks up your sleeve, but it's useless. Die. It would have been fine if he did not know about this. However, now that he knew about it, Blade Light and Sword Shadow would naturally not allow this little fellow to destroy his dimensional passageway. Although Blade Light and Sword Shadow were unable to directly attack Lin Feng, the dimensional passageway itself was formed by Blade Light and Sword Shadow. The manifested will turned into a brutal saber filled with violent killing intent, slashing directly at Lin Feng. This kind of power could not be underestimated. Pung! Lin Feng, who was absorbing the manifested will, suddenly felt a sense of danger. In an instant, a tyrannical and boundless will attack arrived. Although Lin Feng was fully prepared, the violent killing intent was like a hurricane, tearing him apart. What a strong will attack. This was the first time Lin Feng had experienced such a strong will attack. His eyes shone brightly, and the manifested will completely materialized. The will attack was like 1,000 knives, crazily strangling his own will. However, it was a pity that this was only a will attack. If it were a face-to-face attack, Lin Feng would probably be killed. However, Lin Feng was not afraid of a will attack from a distance. He also had manifested will. Heart-defying secret technique. Lin Feng used the defying heart technique. Although it was only a small success and did not increase his strength by much, it was still a mental cultivation secret technique. It was still quite useful for condensing and defending the manifested will. Lin Feng did not know how to use manifested will, but it did not mean that his will was weak. This included his golden heart of the universe, which had reached 69, 8 times. Although it was a far cry from the manifested wills of the saber lights and sword shadows, they were both manifested wills and had the power of a world lord. It was possible for the saber lights and sword shadows to suppress Lin Feng and cause damage to him. However, they could not kill him. Boom, boom, boom. The continuous attacks were thousands of times stronger than Lin Feng's will attack when he absorbed the energy of the dimensional passageway. After absorbing the energy of the dimensional passageway for half a century, Lin Feng was already familiar with the will attacks of the blade lights and sword shadows. Although the power was much stronger, he could still block them, even if he was not at ease. However, the blade lights and sword shadows were not in front of him. He only relied on the dimensional passageway to attack. There is no need to face them head-on. Lin Feng was very calm. Since the blade lights and sword shadows had ordered him to leave, he would leave. His right hand let go of the dimensional passageway barrier. Lin Feng only took a small step back and left the attack range of the blade lights and sword shadows. The will attack disappeared in an instant, but there was still a strong and domineering will attack in his mind. However, it was like an arrow that had left the bow and was difficult to control. After a while, Lin Feng dissipated the will attack easily. The will attack of the Nine Hells King. Lin Feng was shocked. It is indeed powerful. His will attack paled in comparison. Although he was far away, he could still unleash such a strong power. If it were any other universe lord, even if they did not die, they would at least be injured. He still found out. Lin Feng calmed himself down and regained his composure. Half a century of stealing energy from the dimensional passageway was enough. The manifested will in his golden heart of the universe was almost full. However, he wanted to absorb more and continue expanding his golden heart of the universe. Unfortunately, he was discovered. Let's rest for a while before continuing, Lin Feng said softly. This was a good idea. The blade lights and sword shadows could not keep watching the dimensional passageway, right? This would be very demanding of him. If he was really immersed in the dimensional passageway and monitoring him, he would not be able to strengthen the dimensional passageway. It would be equivalent to tying himself up. How could this not be a good thing? Yes, let's do that. Lin Feng smiled slyly. Lin Feng, what's wrong? On the other side, Yichen, who was awakened by the sudden change in the dimensional passageway, stopped his enlightenment and looked at Lin Feng in surprise. During the period of his epiphany, it seemed that what happened? Bookhouse Reading Website. Chapter 3177. It's nothing. Just a small matter that provoked the wrath of the Nine Hells King. Lin Feng joked. The wrath of the Nine Hells King? Yichen scratched his head in confusion. He only reacted after a long time. Are you talking about Blade Light and Sword Shadow? Lin Feng nodded. They might not have known each other before, but they were acquainted after the battle with the Netherkill clan. After absorbing the energy of the dimensional channel, he saw Blade Light and Sword Shadow every day and was even more familiar with it. Yichen jumped up as if someone had stepped on his tail. He looked around in shock, only to find that the dimensional passageway was empty. There was no one in sight. He could not help but laugh bitterly. Lin Feng, your joke is too much. Who was Blade Light and Sword Shadow? Cold Spring Hell King. He was a super expert that even Fan Zhu could not contend against. Unlike Lin Feng, Yichen had followed Fan Zhu and fought against the Netherkill clan for 100 years. The power of Blade Light and Sword Shadow was deeply rooted in his heart. Just hearing its name was enough to make him tremble in fear. I guess so. Lin Feng smiled and did not explain further. How's your comprehension? Yichen's eyes lit up and he was overjoyed. Excellent. I've already touched the barrier of the legendary Hongming Absolute Arts. I have a complete idea and a way to break through. I believe I'll be able to perfect the last move of the 4 God-slaying strikes and reach perfection. That's good. Seeing that Yichen had a breakthrough, Lin Feng was happy for him. No matter what, if he did not have Yichen's careful guidance in this era, he would not have improved so quickly. Thank you, Lin Feng. Yi Chen looked apologetic. You protected me for an era. I should have protected you, but I didn't expect to enter a state of enlightenment. It's fine. Lin Feng did not mind. He had gained a lot during this period. You can't say that. Yi Chen was also very serious. I'll definitely repay you double. By the way, Lin Feng, how long was I in this state of enlightenment? Half an era. While Lin Feng and Yi Chen were chatting casually on the other side of the dimensional passageway, in Netherkill's dimensional world, Blade Shadow was gnashing his teeth in anger. Naturally, he knew that the final willpower impact did not destroy the little fellow. No, not the little guy. His opponent also had manifested wills, but it was not as strong as his. You sure run fast. Blade Light and Sword Shadow were furious, but they had nowhere to vent their anger. They faced the sky and roared, shaking the entire Cold Spring prison. 8 prison masters led by Prison Master Kuan Ting, Dewei, and Wu Sha gathered again. They had been waiting for the Cold Spring Hell King to summon them to attack again. Little ones. Blade Light Sword's face was taut. He did not look too good. Naturally, he would not be in a good mood after something like this happened. More importantly, that son of a B*TCH had slipped away in the end. He, the Cold Spring Hell King, didn't even get a single speck of dust. This time beat him to death. Blade Light and Sword Shadow roared angrily, their fighting spirit bursting forth. The prison masters and marshals all felt their blood boil. Following Blade Light and Sword Shadow, they rushed toward the dimensional passageway with a high fighting spirit and killing intent. Fan Zhu, did you notice that something is wrong with the dimensional passageway? The army god suddenly asked. You noticed it too? Fan Zhu was wearing a long robe, his long purple beard fluttering in the wind. He looked like an immortal with a faint smile on his face. The army god nodded. In the past 1.5 eras, not only did the dimensional passageway not strengthen, it even shrunk a little. It has been weakened by 10 virile. As the world lord in charge of the third dimensional passageway in the Hongmeng Sea, Fan Zhu had always been paying attention to it. When the dimensional passageway began to weaken, Fan Zhu had already noticed it. However, the subsequent weakening surprised Fan Zhu, and he did not know what had happened. However, it was obviously a good thing for the Taichu and the Hongmeng Sea. Observing the changes, the weakening continued for nearly half an era before it ended. Fan Zhu still could not find a reason or the source. Blade Light and Sword Shadow could follow the vine to the melon and find the source because he was the one who had built the dimensional passageway. Fan Zhu could not. Is it because the dimensional passageway is distorted due to the increase in distance? The army god's eyes lit up. If the distance between the two-dimensional worlds was increasing, it was undoubtedly good news. It meant that the two-dimensional worlds were about to separate. No. Fan Zhu's answer disappointed the army god. That's because the army god was about to speak when he suddenly received a mental message. His expression changed slightly. The Netherkill clan is coming again. Fan Zhu nodded. After 1.5 eras, it's time to attack. However, this time might be a little special. The army god nodded. The Netherkill clan might be attacking because of the sudden change in the dimensional passageway. Let's go to the front and set up the formation. Ancestor Fan's body flashed as he sped forward. Army God responded and immediately led the other universe masters to move forward together. This was not the first time they had confronted each other like this. Oh, the Netherkill clan is coming? Yi Chen's eyes lit up. They're finally here. Lin Feng had been looking forward to this for a long time. In this regard, Lin Feng and Yi Chen were very similar. They both hoped that the Netherkill clan would come. There was no better way to improve than actual combat, especially since the Netherkill clan's combat realm was very high. Yi Chen wanted to try his comprehension during the past half an era and see if he could use it to break through the last barrier. Lin Feng also wanted to learn from the Netherkill clan's marshal who used the blade and learn from him. After all, Lin Feng's blade technique had just started. He was like an embryo and still had many areas to polish. As for actual combat, it would be beneficial for Lin Feng to fight against the Netherkiller clan, who had a considerable foundation. By the way, Lin Feng, why are you wearing a mask? Are you learning from Pope? Chen was puzzled. Lin Feng laughed dryly. The two of them were in the 9 Songs Golden Fall array. Fan Zhu was well prepared. All the universe masters were eager to fight. Chen and Lin Feng were not eye-catching. After all, the main battle was Fan Zhu, followed by the ultimate universe masters led by the army god. Generals against generals, soldiers against soldiers, and soldiers against soldiers. The Netherkill clan army, led by Blade Light and Sword Shadow, charged forward. They looked ferocious, as if the great beings of the Taichu had stolen their food. They were irreconcilable enemies. Oh, Fan Zhu also noticed Blade Light and Sword Shadow's strange behavior. He knew what was going on and could not help but smile. The weakening of the dimensional passage's energy was undoubtedly a huge blow to Blade Light and Sword Shadow. Cunning old man, Blade Light and Sword Shadow saw Fan Zhu smile and became even angrier. In his opinion, this was definitely Fan Zhu's scheme to destroy the dimensional passage with such despicable means. Who could tolerate this? Who could tolerate this? As for Lin Feng, Blade Light and Sword Shadow could not be seen. Previously, during the willpower impact, he could only sense Lin Feng's will of manifestation. But now, Lin Feng was not displaying his will of manifestation, so Blade Light and Sword Shadow could not sense it. As for his appearance, Lin Feng cleverly chose to wear a mask. In addition to his meager strength, he could not attract Blade Light and Sword Shadow's attention. Chapter 3178. The battle between the Taichu and the Netherkillers this time was no different from the previous ones. Even though Blade Light and Sword Shadow were furious, and the Hell Masters and Marshals were giving it their all, they could not break Fan Zhu's 9 Songs Golden Fall array unless Blade Light and Sword Shadow used breaking extremity. This was destined to be an evenly matched battle. Both sides did not seem to be fighting for victory. After a fierce battle, the Netherkillers left dozens of Netherkiller Marshals' corpses behind, and the Taichu paid the price of minor injuries to the Universe Masters before giving up. After the first battle, Lin Feng's condition was obviously much better this time, and he had adapted to the Netherkillers' attacks. Although he only killed 2 Netherkiller Marshals, Lin Feng's harvest was probably the most among the Taichu experts. It was even more than Chen's. Although Chen had found a way to improve himself, this battle clearly did not enlighten him and allow him to take another step forward. Instead, Lin Feng's understanding of the newly created murdering underworld energy breaker had deepened. He had also secretly learned many of the Netherkill clan's saber techniques. The Netherkillers were not only of high realms, but their blade techniques were also extraordinary. Chen had built a solid foundation for Lin Feng's blade technique realm. As for the upper limit, it was up to Lin Feng himself. The Netherkillers' attack this time is very different. The army god's expression was solemn. Their fighting spirit is stronger, and they are angrier. It seems that they're taking their anger out on us because of the dimensional passages shrinking. Maybe they think we are the ones behind it. Chairman Egio laughed. If we had a way to weaken the dimensional passage, we would have used it long ago. Why would we wait until now? Let them be, Leader Tianze said concisely. It's always a good thing for us. The Daoyin Palace Master was quite satisfied. Even if they are angry, we can't help them. As long as we can't break Fan Zhu's 9 Songs Golden Fall array, we are invincible. Fan Zhu said, although I don't know the reason, the dimensional passage's weakening in half an era is a fact. It's also a good thing. Half an era? The anger of Blade Light and Sword Shadow? Chen's eyes widened, and he was a little stunned. Wasn't it too much of a coincidence? Not long ago, he had seen strange movements in the dimensional passageway. The 9 Hells King's Saber Light and Sword Shadows seemed to have unleashed a willpower attack. However, he had just woken up from his epiphany and could not sense it clearly. However, the target seemed to be... Chen looked at Lin Feng with a complicated gaze, as if seeking an answer. Although the movement was small, it could not be hidden from Chairman Egio. Chairman Egio had always paid close attention to his most outstanding subordinate. Seeing Chen look at Lin Feng with a strange gaze, Chairman Egio could not help but be curious. Is it related to Lin Feng? As soon as President Egio spoke, all the Ultimate Universe Masters and Fan Zhu immediately looked over. I don't know either. Ichin didn't know if he should say it or not. Yes, the reason why the Netherkill clan is angry is most likely because of me. On the contrary, Lin Feng was magnanimous. Since he was asked, he might as well admit it. It was not a big deal. Lin Feng, what did you do? You killed the underworld killer? No wonder you wore a mask before. You're good, kid. You're doing bad things in secret. All the Universe Masters laughed and said. The Hongmeng Sea and the Netherkill clan were enemies. They were naturally happy that Lin Feng could make the Netherkill clan furious. Lin Feng, is the weakening of the dimensional passageway related to you? Fan Zhu's purple beard fluttered as he sized up Lin Feng. Lin Feng replied, To be honest, Fan Zhu, I have indeed been secretly absorbing the energy of the dimensional passageway for half an era. I was only stopped when I was discovered by Blade Light and Sword Shadow not long ago. So, the Netherkill clan's large-scale attack this time is very likely because of me. Army God, Leader Tianze, Dao Yin Palace Master. Absorbing the energy of the dimensional passageway, Blade Light and Sword Shadow launched a willpower attack. The great beings of the Taichu were a little confused. They did not expect the whole thing to be related to Lin Feng. If Ichin had not mentioned it, no one would have expected that the weakening of the dimensional passageway's energy was a good thing done by Lin Feng. Obviously, Lin Feng had no need to lie. Lin Feng, you can absorb the energy of the dimensional passageway, which is a materialized willpower of Blade Light and Sword Shadow. Fan Zhu was shocked, as if he had discovered a new dimension. Lin Feng nodded. I have always had a question. Since Blade Light and Sword Shadow can strengthen the dimensional passageway, why can't we weaken it to maintain a balance between the two sides? Even if we can't resist the attack of the Netherkill clan, we can at least buy some time. That's impossible. Army God frowned as he stared at Lin Feng. Although he was an Ultimate Universe Master, he also had materialized willpower. Lin Feng, when you absorb the energy of the dimensional passageway, won't there be a willpower attack of Blade Light and Sword Shadow? Yes, Lin Feng replied. But can't I just block it? It's not that simple, Army God said. Army God said, every bit of the materialized willpower of others contains traces of willpower. Even if you block it, you won't be able to use it for yourself. It's also difficult to get rid of it, and it might even remain in your body and pose a great threat. We can indeed absorb the energy of the dimensional passageway, but leaving traces of Blade Light and Sword Shadow's willpower in your body is like playing with fire. The consequences are unpredictable. Army God looked worried. Lin Feng, you traces of willpower? Lin Feng sensed it carefully and shook his head. I'm not sure. Every time I block the willpower attack, I directly absorb the materialized willpower and turn it into my own. What? All the Universe Masters gasped. Lin Feng, you can absorb the materialized willpower of others. Dao Yin Palace Masters' eyes widened in disbelief. How is that possible? No, how did you do it? I absorb it just like that. Lin Feng did not know how to answer, but he understood a lot. It seemed that other than himself, other cultivators, including Fan Zhu, could not absorb the materialized willpower of others. This was the same as Super Black, who had absorbed the Bug Clan. You'll know once you try. Fan Zhu's eyes flashed. In an instant, a beam of materialized willpower penetrated Lin Feng's body. It was a very familiar energy. Lin Feng had Fan Zhu's materialized willpower in his body before. I can't absorb such a materialized willpower, Lin Feng said honestly. The materialized willpower in his body was deeply imprinted by Fan Zhu. It was impossible for him to absorb it. Fan Zhu thought for a moment. Then, he relaxed his aura and broke the connection with Lin Feng. He had cut off control of his materialized willpower, as if he was giving up. Wah! This time, Lin Feng absorbed it quickly. Just like the energy of the dimensional passageway, it turned into his materialized willpower in the blink of an eye and merged with the golden heart of the universe. He really absorbed it. With Ancestor Fan's strength, and the fact that this was a will that belonged to him in the first place, he could clearly sense it being instantly absorbed by Lin Feng. His purple beard fluttering, Ancestor Fan stared at Lin Feng, unable to speak for a long time. Chapter 3179. How'd he do it? All the universe masters looked at each other in confusion. Lin Feng's unique ability had already exceeded their understanding. Even Ancestor Fan, who had the most experience, did not know how it worked, let alone them. Absorbing the will of another's manifestation, this was too strange. But there was one thing they didn't doubt. This was a good thing for the Taichu and even the entire Hongmeng Ocean. Lin Feng absorbed more of the dimensional passage's energy, Fanzu said. Okay, Lin Feng answered. Then he touched the dimensional passage's barrier and started to absorb its energy. But this time, he didn't take long to absorb it. A huge energy wave came from the dimensional passage's barrier, startling all the universe masters. Fanzu's eyes were sharp as he stroked his purple beard. It's really the sword shadows. Pung. Lin Feng retreated from the dimensional passage's barrier, his expression changing. He endured another willpower attack. Although it seemed to be more powerful, he was prepared this time, so his reaction and defense were much easier. Impressive. Ichen had seen it with his own eyes. It was definitely the willpower attack of the sword shadows. If he had been in Lin Feng's shoes, he would have been seriously injured, but Lin Feng had withstood it unscathed. Putting aside his other abilities, the strength of his willpower was indescribable. Awesome, he found out. Lin Feng smiled. Secretly absorbing dimensional energy wasn't necessarily feasible. How powerful is the willpower attack? Fanzu asked. Very powerful. Lin Feng answered honestly. But it can't hurt me. Also, when I left the barrier, I could absorb the willpower attack. Is that so? Fanzu smiled. Let's do it again. Okay. Lin Feng understood Fanzu's idea. Since he couldn't do anything to him, he might as well rob him. Then, Lin Feng placed his hand on the dimensional passageway barrier again. After a short while, a huge wave came from the dimensional passageway barrier again. Even if Blade and Shadow were not here, all the universe masters could feel Netherkill's surging anger in the dimensional world. However, no matter who it was, they would probably fly into a rage. With practiced movements, Lin Feng retreated after enduring a wave of willpower impact. His expression fluctuated as he rapidly absorbed the remnant willpower within his body. This time, there was no need for Fanzu to say anything, as Lin Feng pressed himself against the dimensional passageway barrier once more. The various universe masters did not know whether to laugh or cry. Lin Feng, this brat, really dared. It was not hard to imagine Saber Light and Sword Shadow's mood at this moment. He was so angry that he almost turned the entire Cold Spring prison upside down. That's because Lin Feng's actions were clearly very unkind. The dimensional passageway that other people had painstakingly constructed and strengthened had been torn apart by him. Furthermore, he had done it again and again. After being discovered, he was even more thick-skinned and directly snatched it away. Wasn't this bullying? However, standing on the side of the Hongmeng Sea, the various universe masters felt carefree and unrestrained. Well done. Continue. Bang. Whoosh. Boom. Whoosh. After being blasted back time and time again, Lin Feng faced the waves head-on again and again. In any case, the willpower impact could not do anything to him, and he could also absorb a wave of manifested willpower along the way. Why not? Not only could he deal with Saber Light and Sword Shadow, but he could also benefit from it. This move was not a loss. Seeing Lin Feng act so shamelessly, the various universe masters also observed a moment of silence for Saber Light and Sword Shadow. The dignified Nine Hells Monarch, a super powerhouse that even Ancestor Fan couldn't deal with, had actually been toyed around by Yuan Venerate. If the other powerhouses of the underworld kill race knew about this, they would probably be shocked. After going back and forth dozens of times, both sides were in a stalemate. In fact, Lin Feng had taken the opportunity to absorb a lot of manifested willpower. At the moment, the universal metal core was almost completely saturated. If there was a chance to continue absorbing manifested willpower, Lin Feng planned to expand the universal metal core. However, this time, Lin Feng did not receive the willpower impact of Saber Light and Sword Shadow. Furthermore, he could no longer absorb the energy of the dimensional passageway. He's locked. Lin Feng released his palm from the barrier and shook his head at Fan Zhu. Saber Light and Sword Shadow is not an ordinary netherkill. He found a way to break it so quickly. Bystanders saw things clearly. Fan Zhu had long seen through the process of Lin Feng absorbing manifested willpower. It was actually not difficult to break it. As long as he controlled the manifested willpower, even if it was just a little bit of control, Lin Feng would not be able to absorb it. Lin Feng could only absorb manifested willpower that did not have an owner. Very little. Generally, the manifested willpower of an attack had an owner. Only manifested willpower bridges, like the dimensional passageway, were ownerless. To be precise, the owner was not always around. However, as long as Saber Light and Sword Shadow's mind was firmly guarding the dimensional passageway, Lin Feng would not be able to absorb it. Oh, Fan Zhu pondered for a moment and said to Lin Feng, "How about this?" Lin Feng, absorb the energy of the dimensional passageway every once in a while. If you can't absorb it, cultivate by yourself. If you can, try your best to absorb it. Okay. Lin Feng understood Fan Zhu's intention. Fan Zhu wanted to test whether Saber Light and Sword Shadow could strengthen the dimensional passageway while guarding it. Netherkill Dimensional World, Cold Spring Prison. Damn it, bastard. This is infuriating. Furious roars resounded throughout the Cold Spring Prison. The generals and marshals of the Underworld Kill clan trembled in fear, not daring to get close to their king. There were already some blind people who were killed by the Underworld Kill clan to vent their anger. They could be considered unlucky, although they did not know what had happened. For their king to be so angry, it was definitely not a small matter. Thief, I will definitely find you. Saber Light and Sword Shadow gnashed his teeth. His torrential anger seemed to burn the cold spring beneath him. His face was sinister, and the scars on his body seemed to be squirming, making him look exceptionally terrifying. On the other side of the dimensional passageway, the sneaky thief in the Hongmeng Sea was extremely vexing. Every time he strengthened the dimensional passageway, the thief would absorb the energy of the dimensional passageway, forcing him to defend it. However, when he defended the dimensional passageway, the progress of strengthening the dimensional passageway was reduced, and the efficiency was extremely low. The biggest problem was that he could not do anything to the thief. His willpower attack could not kill the other party at all. It was like two armies facing off against each other. At the same time, he could not cause any damage to the other party, and he would also waste a lot of his willpower. Previously, when he was fighting with the Hongmeng Sea, he did not discover the thief who was secretly absorbing his willpower. It turned out that the thief had been hidden very well. Despicable Hongmeng Sea, you can't beat me, so you use such a despicable move. Damn it. Saber Light and Sword Shadow's eyes were filled with killing intent. The golden W between his eyebrows shone brightly, and powerful soul power gushed out. This matter is not over. Do you think you can do anything to our Netherkill clan like this? Too naive. Chapter 3180. Lin Feng had single-handedly delayed the Cold Spring Prison's invasion. The efficiency of Blade Shadow's reinforcement of the dimensional passageway was greatly reduced, and he could no longer do so as he was tied to the passageway. Once he left, the unguarded dimensional passageway would be like a vacuum, allowing Lin Feng to absorb it. According to Fan Zhu's estimation, the dimensional passageway would reach 500 viral in a few dozen eras. At that time, the Netherkiller clan would likely send out 2-9 Hell's Kings, or Blade Shadow would unleash all of his power to use Breaking Extremity. The dimensional passageway would then be in danger. But now, 500 viral was still far away. The Taichu's predicament was solved. Lin Feng is indeed a blessed general of the Taichu, the army God praised. First, he had quelled the insect disaster. Then he had stopped the Nether Killer Clan's attack. Lin Feng had performed miracles time and time again. Not only is he a blessed general, but he's also a fierce general. Chairman Egio smiled and stroked the small tuft of golden hair on his head. Intentionally or unintentionally, he glanced at Pope. Lin Feng's strength is not to be underestimated. Even Yi Chen, who has always been proud and arrogant, who doesn't even respect the chairman, is full of praise for Lin Feng. The Daoyin Palace Master smiled. Chairman Egio rolled his eyes and did not mind the Daoyin Palace Master's teasing. He sighed. It's a pity that there's only one Lin Feng. If Lin Feng has the doppelganger technique, he can also guard the other three-dimensional passageways. We can completely stall the Nether Killer Clan. It was too difficult to defeat the Nether Killer Clan. Just the number of World Lords alone was almost twice the number of the Nether Killer Clan. Moreover, the Nether Killer Clan's individual combat ability was quite strong. With the same strength of a World Lord, they could basically crush the Hongmeng Sea. The Hongmeng Sea's only way now was to resist. To put it nicely, they had to stall the Nether Killer Clan until the distance between the two-dimensional worlds widened and the dimensional passageway collapsed. To put it bluntly, it was actually a desperate struggle, because this possibility was not high. Unless the timeline was stretched out for an extremely long time, only then would it be possible to pull the distance between the two-dimensional worlds apart. In a short span of a few thousand eras, pulling the distance apart to the point that the dimensional passageway would collapse was undoubtedly a pipe dream. However, if the other three-dimensional passageways could do what Lin Feng had done and stall the Netherkill clan, a miracle might happen. It was impossible to close the distance between 1,000 and 100,000 eras, but it was hard to say for 10,000 eras or even 100,000 eras. The position of the dimensional world within the dimensional space was constantly changing. Unfortunately, there was only one Lin Feng. Can't Lin Feng enter through the four-dimensional passageways? The distance isn't too far. Pope said, this way, the kings of 9 hells and the four-dimensional passageways won't dare to move too much, greatly hindering their progress. The Daoyin Palace Master and leader Tian Zhe nodded thoughtfully. That was a good idea. After all, Lin Feng was in the dark, and the Netherkill clan didn't know what he was doing. It's possible, but if we split our energy, it's equivalent to splitting Lin Feng into 4. Once the four-dimensional passageways are on guard, although we can delay some time, it's far less than concentrating on one-dimensional passageway. Chairman Egio analyzed. At the very least, we can ease the situation of the other dimensional passageways. The situation facing the first-dimensional passageway is far more dangerous than ours. Pope said, it's useless for us to guard the dimensional passageways alone. Once the Netherkill clan breaks through any of the dimensional passageways, they can invade without any fear. The first dimensional passageway's current load capacity had exceeded 1,000 viral. Pope is right. Currently, the first dimensional passageway situation is the most serious, and the one who built it is the strongest world lord. Leader Tianze said in a low voice, next is the fourth dimensional passageway, which is also built by the strongest world lord. The first dimensional passageway is blocked by the Chaos Dao monarchs, but the fourth dimensional passageway, Leader Tianze's expression was solemn as he glanced around. As long as any of the dimensional passageways is broken, it will be a huge catastrophe for the Hongmeng Sea. We'll discuss this later. Fanzu's purple beard fluttered as he interrupted. The third-dimensional passageway situation is not stable yet, and we should focus on ourselves. The other origin chaotic universes have their own methods, so there's no need to worry too much. In addition, Lin Feng is the Taichu's future and hope, not a war machine. He has his own thoughts and freedom, so don't force our will on him. You can ask, but you can't order. Although his voice was calm, there was a trace of unquestionable authority. Pope's eyes flashed under his calm mask. He couldn't kill Lin Feng, so he had to use other methods, such as killing with a borrowed knife. Once Lin Feng became the public enemy of the Netherkill clan, the Netherkill clan would do their best to kill Lin Feng. There was no need for him to do anything at all. Fanzu's words had undoubtedly stopped his crooked thoughts. Although Pope was indignant, the Taichu origin chaotic universe followed Fanzu's lead, and all the universe masters listened to Fanzu. No matter what Fanzu said, he couldn't doubt it. Yes, Fanzu. Hope could only respond. In the dimensional space, Lin Feng's body was wrapped in virile as he tempered his soul. His physical body had completed the baptism of virile and transformed to a higher level. Naturally, his soul had also done the same. Virile was a kind of majestic and powerful energy. The entire dimensional space was filled with virile, which controlled countless other kinds of energy. Just as Fanzu had said, Lin Feng had his own thoughts, and he had things he wanted to do. He didn't belong to the 5 superpowers. Although he was a member of the Taichu, he was himself first and foremost. Lin Feng was free. Crack, crack. Although they were both at the limit of 100 times, the universe golden soul was slightly weaker than the universe golden body. The soul was only a soul, and in terms of strength, it couldn't compare to the physical body. However, Lin Feng had already baptized the universe golden body before. Baptizing the universe golden soul was undoubtedly twice the result with half the effort. He was more familiar with it and knew how to progress step by step. If he could improve, he wouldn't waste it. Whether it was the physical body or the soul, they were all part of oneself. They were the foundation of the foundation. The stronger the foundation, the stronger the transformation. Lin Feng's physical body was now stronger than I Chen's super-universe body. This was because Lin Feng had strengthened his foundation to the extreme from the beginning. Coupled with several encounters, it had created his current powerful physical body. It was the same for the soul. In fact, the foundation of Lin Feng's soul was even better than the physical body. After the baptism of virile, the universe golden soul was not only more pure and powerful, but its soul attack was also more powerful. The biggest improvement was the soul defense. Previously, the soul was like an ordinary city wall. It had become a sturdy castle. While baptizing his soul, Lin Feng absorbed the energy of the dimensional passageway from time to time, so that Blade Light and Sword Shadow didn't dare to let down their guard. As long as they had the opportunity, they would desperately absorb the will of the embodiment. However, there weren't many such opportunities, as Blade Light and Sword Shadow would quickly notice and defend again. After suffering a loss once, Blade Light and Sword Shadow wouldn't give Lin Feng another chance so easily. Chapter 3181. Previously, Lin Feng had protected I Chen for 1.5 years. This time, I Chen had protected Lin Feng for 3 years. During this period, the Netherkiller clan had launched 2 attacks, but the Taichu had blocked them both. The weight of virile in the dimensional passageway had not increased, which meant that the combat strength of the Netherkiller clan could not increase. Previously, they could not break through the Taichu's defense, and now they could not break through it. Fanzu's 9 Tunes Golden Fall Array was an absolute defense. Unless they used the extreme break, the possibility of breaking through was not high. These 3 eras were undoubtedly carefree for Lin Feng. The training and baptism of virile had strengthened his physical body and soul, including the golden heart of the universe. Compared to the golden body and golden soul of the universe, the strengthening of the golden heart of the universe was the smoothest. On one hand, the will of the incarnation was integrated into the dimensional space. On the other hand, Lin Feng's Hongming golden body had adapted to virile in all aspects. The 2 battles with the Netherkiller clan had deepened Lin Feng's understanding of the Blade Realm. Although he was only a Netherkiller clan marshal, his Blade Realm was above Lin Feng's. The Netherkiller clan was a natural warrior. Soul Ignition was their innate talent. Controlling weapons and being good at fighting were also their innate talents. The 3rd time, the 4th time, the 5th time, time after time, he honed his Blade Realm. In addition to his gains in the dimensional space, Lin Feng continued to improve. His strength was the most simple among the Taichu experts, and his potential for improvement was huge. If he seized the opportunity, he would naturally transform. Nether Slayer Zhun Pu. The upgraded Blade Realm and power had been greatly improved in all aspects. It was much stronger than the first move, murdering Nether Slayer. The first move was a transformation that Lin Feng had comprehended under I Chen's guidance. However, the second move was something that he had created himself. It had broken through the shackles of the energy break realm and reached a new level. Boom! It was very powerful. This was a blade realm technique that focused on strength. Snow Jewel fell from the sky like a hot knife through butter. With Lin Feng's tyrannical physical body, he forcefully defeated the Nether Killer Clan Marshal and killed him. Oh! Lin Feng's sudden outburst also attracted Fan Zhu's attention. Nine Tunes Golden Fall Array was controlled by the Nine Tunes Golden Fall Array. Fan Zhu was very curious. He was of Fan. Fan Zhu was. Fan. Was. It was fine if he didn't make a sound, but once he did, he would amaze the world. Chi. Chi was. Nether. Helpus a it. Chen's. Time. A. CLU new. 2. Kill. Zhanming Jinpu. This move was filled with tyrannical power, and there was a faint trace of the Nether Killer Clan's brutal concept within it. Lin Feng's attack also had the indomitable aura of the Nether Killer Clan. Hong. In a short while, he killed 5 Nether Killer Clan marshals. He was invincible. His power immediately attracted the attention of the Nether Killer Clan Prison Master. The Nether Killer Clan Prison Master attacked the Tai Chu, but he didn't have any advantage over the Tai Chu. With his power, he could easily kill Ultimate Universe Masters, and ordinary Pinnacle Universe Masters were no match for him. However, he disdained to do so. The life of the Nether Sha race was filled with battles, but they preferred battles that were evenly matched and filled with challenges. They did not bully the weak and small. To the great beings of the Nether Killer Clan, Lin Feng was weak. That was why Lin Feng had been fighting the Nether Killer Clan marshals, and it was always one-on-one. To the Nether Killer Clan marshals, Lin Feng was very weak. The Nether Killer Clan marshals didn't want to kill such a weak cultivator, much less when there were so many of them. But now, the situation was different. Dark Star Helm Master swiftly arrived. Among all the Hell Masters of Cold Spring Hell, Dark Star Hell Master was one of the lower-ranked Hell Masters. He was not as powerful as Kuan Ting Hell Master, Dewei Hell Master, and Wuxia Hell Master, which was why he was not a match for the Ultimate Universe Masters on Absolute Beginning's side. This made Dark Star Hell Master frustrated. Seeing Lin Feng's power, Dark Star Prison Master gave up on Sword Killer Guardian God and attacked Lin Feng. The Sword Kill Protector, who had been repelled, did not give chase. Instead, it turned to attack another Underworld Marshal. It was eager to shake off Dark Dawn Hellmaster. This was a powerful opponent that it could not deal with. There was no benefit in fighting Dark Dawn Hellmaster, and it would only waste time. Besides, it just so happened that Dark Star Prison Master was attacking Lin Feng. As a member of the Tai Chu Inquisition, Sword Killer Guardian God was on the same side as Pope. Although they couldn't deal with Lin Feng on the surface, they secretly hoped that Lin Feng would die in the dimensional passage. If they had the chance, they wouldn't mind sending Lin Feng on his way. Prison Master? Lin Feng had been waiting for a long time. The Nether Killer Clan Marshal wasn't a challenge anymore. It would be great if he could fight a Prison Master. Strong, murderous intent, a life weapon that glowed with nether light, and a light blue light all over his body. One could clearly feel the waves of his soul. It was like a flame was burning. The aura of a Prison Master was different from that of a Nether Killer Clan Marshal. The 5th level of soul burning, soul flame, it was the ability that Blade Light and Sword Shadow used now. Only those who mastered Soul Flame were worthy of being a Prison Master of Nether Killer Clan. Compared to the 4th level, Brutality, Soul Flame was a special ability that only one had. However, it was usually related to one's background. Most of the Nether Killer Clan experts in the Cold Spring Prison had ice as their soul flame. Blade Light and Sword Shadow had ice as their soul flame. Being popular didn't mean they were weak, and being unique didn't mean they were strong. The strength of the soul flame was mostly related to the strength of the cultivator's soul. The stronger the soul, the fiercer the burning, and the stronger the soul flame. Similarly, when using the soul flame Frost, the Saberlights and Sword Shadows were much stronger than the other Infernal Lords. However, the soul flame of an ordinary Nether Killer Clan Prison Master wasn't weak either. Like the fusion of fire and ice, the light blue light not only covered Prison Master Darkstar's dark golden armor, but also his life weapon. In battle, the Nether Killer Clan Prison Masters were similar. They rarely used the 4th level of soul-burning brutality. Although it increased their strength greatly, they couldn't control their bodies and couldn't unleash the full power of the soul flame. They mostly used the first 3 levels of soul burning to complement their soul flame in battle. The first stage was strengthening. It would increase one's attack power by 3 stages, but it would reduce one's speed and agility. The second level, Golden Body, would emit a golden light on their body. Their defense would be stronger and their speed would be faster, but their strength would be ordinary. The third level, Nether Entering, was the current state of Blade Light and Sword Shadow. Prison Master Darkstar was the same. Nether Power covered his dark golden armor. His defense was slightly weaker than the second level, Golden Body. His speed was about the same, and his attacking strength was much stronger than the second level. It was the most balanced battle state. It was also the most perfect battle state recognized by the Nether Killer Clan. Chapter 31:82. Hellmaster Dark Dawn was very strong, but Lin Feng was not easy to deal with either. Before entering the Dimensional Passage, Lin Feng already had the combat power to contend with Pope. Although part of this was due to his self-created secret techniques, Insect Emergence, and Great Change, the Taichu Pope also had the power of the Heavenly Way. After entering the Dimensional Passage, Lin Feng did not reveal his true strength and hid part of his strength. He mostly battled with the Netherkill Marshals to comprehend and create his own blade techniques. In addition, he was in the dimensional space and had undergone the baptism of Viral. To Lin Feng, cultivation was more important than battle. However, when the real battle came, Lin Feng would not be afraid. He had enough strength to deal with it. Secret technique of Defying Mind. Although it was only a small success, Lin Feng's universal golden heart was strengthened. The power of his materialized willpower increased greatly, and the performance of his secret technique became better. The golden willpower seemed to be burning. Cultivating against his will caused Lin Feng to enter a special state. Homling's golden body was instantly strengthened to the max. The universal golden body and universal golden soul that had already undergone a baptism became even stronger. There was no need to use the secret technique of Defying Mind when fighting with the Netherkill Marshals. Boom! Hell Overlord Dark Dawn did not care at all. The scars all over his body were proof of his glorious battle record. The stronger Lin Feng was, the more intense his battle intent was. Every expert of the Netherkill clan had the desire to challenge others. This was the source of their power. Battle was their life. Soul Ignition. Clang. The halberd was as heavy as 1,000 kilograms. It glowed with a light blue light and collided with Lin Feng's snow jade. A cold aura instantly froze the snow jade. The power of Dark Dawn Hell's soul flame, ice, suddenly erupted. Bang! This attack directly forced Lin Feng back. In terms of halberd techniques and realm, Dark Dawn Hell was above Lin Feng. Amazing! Lin Feng was also someone who grew braver with every setback. Although this was only their first encounter, Lin Feng could feel how strong Helm Master Dark Dawn was. Perhaps his strength was slightly inferior to Pope's when Taichu was at his peak, but combined with his battle intent and willpower, Dark Dawn posed a greater threat than Pope in a battle of life and death. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't use his self-created secret technique, Great Change, since it had no effect on the Nethersha clan. Relying on the power of the Golden Hongmeng, as well as the improvements he had gained in various aspects after entering the dimensional passageway for more than 10 eras, Lin Feng quickly entered a state of close combat with Dark Dawn Hellmaster. This kind of confrontation was the simplest and purest. Just do it. Lin Feng did not even use the 100 million 8 front formation. even though it would help him fight Hell Master Ho Chen better. This kind of crazy face-to-face battle made Lin Feng the most carefree and unrestrained. Similarly, this kind of battle was often the fastest way to improve. Not bad. Dark Dawn Hell Master became happier as the battle went on. Originally, he didn't think much of Lin Feng and only wanted to get rid of this annoying little fellow. He didn't expect to encounter such a treasure, such strength, such willpower. And the saber art Lin Feng used made Hell Overlord Dark Star feel a sense of satisfaction as though he had met his match. Furthermore, Lin Feng's attacks resembled the Nether Slayer's in every way. Again, Dark Dawn Hell Master swept away his anger. Originally, he was unhappy that he couldn't fight Ultimate Universe Masters, but now, he was enjoying it. The way this little fellow attacked was much tougher than those Ultimate Universe Masters. He didn't use any treasures. He just picked up the weapon in his hand. Every blade drew blood, and every halberd hit flesh. Refreshing. Hong, hong, hong. The fierce battle attracted the attention of many great beings, including Blade Light and Sword Shadow. The twisted W between his eyebrows flashed with a faint golden light. Although Blade Light and Sword Shadow were attacking Jukujin Luo, Array, and Fanzu, they were also paying attention to the battle. As Cold Spring Hell Master and the commander of the attack on the Third Dimension channel, Blade Light and Sword Shadow seemed casual but was actually very meticulous. Being good at fighting didn't mean killing was his life. The Nethersha clan was a fighting clan, not a clan that killed without thinking. Why do I feel that this kid is so familiar? Blade Light and Sword Shadow had already noticed that there was a newcomer on Taichu's side during the previous battles. He didn't care too much about it, as it was normal to have new combat power during a war. However, this time, Lin Feng gave him a different feeling. Firstly, Lin Feng's strength was stronger than before. He was able to fight Dark Dawn Hell Master to a standstill and was comparable to Ultimate Universe Masters, which surprised Blade Light and Sword Shadow. However, what really surprised him was that Lin Feng was strangely familiar. It was as if he had seen him before, but he couldn't remember where. Is it an illusion? Or is it because the blade technique he used has the shadow of our Nethersha clan? As the Nine Hells King of the Nethersha clan, Blade Light and Sword Shadow, who had reached the pinnacle of blade technique, could tell that Lin Feng's blade technique had borrowed from the Nethersha clan's life weapon and fighting style. This was nothing. On the contrary, it made Blade Light and Sword Shadow admire Lin Feng even more. He had good taste. However, this strange sense of familiarity left Blade Light and Sword Shadow puzzled. Boom! Boom! Unlike Blade Light and Sword Shadow, Lin Feng didn't have the energy to divert his attention during the attack. When he was facing Dark Dawn Hell Master, Lin Feng could be at ease. However, now that he was facing Dark Dawn Hell Master, if he didn't go all out, he wouldn't know how to write the word death. With a mask on his face, Blade Light and Sword Shadow couldn't see Lin Feng's face clearly. As for the confrontation of willpower in the dimensional channel, it didn't include aura. Hence, Blade Light and Sword Shadow couldn't sense Lin Feng's aura. The only thing he could sense was Lin Feng's materialized willpower. This was because the clash of willpower was a battle of willpower. In the previous battle, Lin Feng didn't use the Defying Heart Secret technique. However, he used it this time. Although the Defying Heart Secret technique relied more on the golden heart of the universe, the materialized willpower was also included. It was as if it was integrated into the Defying Heart Secret technique. However, it wasn't very obvious. Although Blade Light and Sword Shadow could sense it, they were only familiar with it and couldn't put their finger on it. Maybe it's just an illusion. Blade Light and Sword Shadow didn't think too much about it since he couldn't get an answer. A battle was a battle. He wouldn't spend too much effort on a little guy like Lin Feng. As the commander, he needed to control the overall situation. For this round, the Emperor's energy absorption should be enough. As Blade Light and Sword Shadow bombarded the Juku Jinluo formation, he calculated in his heart. Just as Fan Zhu and the army god had guessed, every attack of the Dark Dawn Hell clan had a purpose. However, The cultivators of the Hongmeng Sea didn't know, nor could they guess. In terms of experience and ability in the dimensional space, the Dark Dawn Hell Clan was far superior to the Hongmeng Sea, although their attack had battle and offensive elements, as well as the goal of weakening the combat power of the Hongmeng Sea and attacking the dimensional channel. Their main purpose was to absorb energy. Only with enough energy could their emperor complete the transformation and become the legendary god of the Dark Dawn Shura of the Dark Dawn Hell Clan. When that time came, he would lead the Dark Dawn Hell Clan to gallop across the myriad worlds and make all the dimensional worlds bow down to him. Little ones, let's go. Blade Light and Sword Shadow laughed valiantly and directly blasted out a big move. Blade Light and Sword Chi crisscrossed and enveloped the area, easily retreating. Chapter 3183. The Nether Killers retreated once again, and the third dimension passageway returned to peace. Lin Feng now knew why everyone was so calm in the face of a powerful enemy. When the Nether Killers attacked again and again without any success, it was hard for the Taichu experts not to be calm. With Fan Zhu's 9 Songs Golden Fall array guarding them, it was even easier. Because it was easy, they were calm. Even Lin Feng himself treated every confrontation as a form of training. Fighting against the Nether Killers, who were skilled and powerful in battle, was very rewarding. His companions were all top Taichu experts, and Lin Feng had improved rapidly over the past dozen or so eras. Lin Feng, are you interested in going to other dimensional passageways? Fan Zhu asked. Not only was Lin Feng surprised, but the other universe masters, including Pope, were also surprised. They didn't quite understand what Fan Zhu meant. There's a piece of news that I have to tell everyone. Fan Zhu's calm voice was a little solemn. His purple beard swayed as he glanced around. Just now, the fourth dimension passageway's capacity exceeded 350 viral. What? So fast? It surpassed us? The military god, leader Tianze, and palace master Dao Yan's expressions changed instantly. The fourth dimension passageway was guarded by the Taichu Origin Chaotic Universe, and it was the last dimensional passageway to be opened. Originally, the pressure of defending it should be the least. Just a dozen or so years ago, the fourth dimension passageway's capacity was less than 200 viral, but now, it suddenly exploded. This was unexpected. 350 viral's capacity was not low, and the Taichu Origin Chaotic Universe had to do its best to defend against it. The Taichu Origin Chaotic Universe was the weakest among the 5 Origin Chaotic Universes. The fourth dimension passageway was built by the strongest world master, the Netherworld Helm Master, Invincible. His reinforcement speed was faster than ours, especially in the early stages. Ijio was the only one who wasn't surprised because he had also received the news. After glancing at Lin Feng for a long time, the chairman said, "Because we have Lin Feng here, we are able to restrain the blade lights and sword shadows. Therefore, the speed of the reinforcement is very slow. Until now, it has not reached 350-dimensional energy. However, no one can stop the reinforcement of Yellow Springs Hell's Invincible. In fact, the first and second dimension passageways can't stop the reinforcement of the 9 Hells Kings." The Daoyan Palace Master couldn't help but laugh. "Are you implying that Lin Feng is abnormal?" "He's not abnormal, but special." Iju narrowed his eyes, and the small tuft of golden hair on his head swayed gently. He looked at Lin Feng with eyes full of appreciation. "It's a blessing for the Taichu to have Lin Feng." Fan Zhu nodded gently. Ijio is right. Lin Feng is indeed a blessing for the Taichu. Now that the fourth dimension passageway is in danger, once it's broken, the Nether Killers will be able to drive straight in. Even if the other dimension passageways can resist, it'll be useless. All the universe masters nodded. Pope was right about this. Once any dimensional passageway was broken, the Nether Killers could use it as a stronghold and send a large number of Nether Killers to kill their way into the Hongmeng Sea. When the time came, there would be a bloodbath. Based on the current combat power comparison between the two sides, the Hongmeng Sea was completely at a disadvantage. In terms of world lords, the Nether Killers had a total of 9 kings of 9 hells, and they were all battle-hardened. Among them, 3 of the strongest world lords crushed the world lords of the Hongmeng Sea. On the Hongmeng Sea, there was only one strongest world lord, Chaos Dao Monarch, who had just stepped in. Brother Wu Dao has sent a message to the 3 of us. He hopes to receive support. Fanzu looked at Lin Feng and said softly, "However, Lin Feng, you can decide whether to go to the 4th dimension passageway." Wu Dao was the world lord of the Tai Chi origin chaotic universe, limitless Dao. Lin Feng had seen his name in the investiture of the Gods Challenge. It's up to Fanzu to decide. Lin Feng had no objection to this. He could cultivate anywhere, and the 3rd dimension passageway was currently stabilizing. Since they were in the same boat, it was only right for him to help the 4th dimension passageway. Okay, Fanzu smiled. He was very satisfied with Lin Feng. His gaze slowly swept across and landed on Yichen. Yichen, are you willing to accompany Lin Feng to the 4th dimension passageway? Me? Yichen was rather shocked, but he quickly reacted. No problem. As the chief almighty of the Tai Chu, Yichen was naturally not afraid of challenges. Moreover, he and Lin Feng had been cultivating together for the past few years. How could he fall behind when Lin Feng went to the 4th dimension passageway? The Daoyin Palace Master glanced at President Yichen and raised his eyebrows. Why are you willing to let your child take the risk this time? Everyone knew that President Yichen had been carefully nurtured by him. He was like a pearl and a treasure. President Yichen laughed and said, "Fanzu's opinion is my opinion. There's nothing to be reluctant about. We should help each other. Moreover, this is a good job." Oh, the Daoyin Palace Master was surprised. A good job? Leader Tianze was also confused. President Yichen laughed and said, "Think about it. This is the World Master Dao Wuji asking for help. If we send someone over, wouldn't he be embarrassed to not give us a reward? At the very least, he would give us a gift. As a World Master, he wouldn't be stingy." All the universe masters were enlightened. President Yichen, who was in charge of the entire Yichen Corporation, was the most knowledgeable in the ways of the world. Yichen's eyes lit up with anticipation. Lin Feng didn't mind. After all, he didn't lack anything. Fanzu looked over and smiled. "Lin Feng, you have to learn from Brother Wu Dao. Humbly ask for guidance." Oh, Lin Feng could tell that Fanzu seemed to be hiding something in his words. Fanzu said, "Among the 5 world masters, Brother Wu Dao and Chaos Dao Monarch are mental cultivators. Brother Wu Dao's understanding of Dao is above Chaos Dao Monarch's. He is a true mental cultivator." A true mental cultivator. These words explained everything. I will definitely humbly ask for guidance. Lin Feng was also a mind cultivator. If he could obtain Dao Wuji, his gains would be even greater. Compared to the golden body of the universe and the golden soul of the universe, Lin Feng's current use of the golden heart of the universe and the materialized was too crude. Hence, his improvement in the defying heart technique had been slow. Until now, he had only achieved a small success. Not to mention achieving full mastery. Even achieving full mastery was still a long way away. This was an excellent opportunity. If I can obtain Senior Dao Wuji's guidance and achieve full mastery of the defying heart technique, this trip will be worth it. Lin Feng was also looking forward to it. Achieving a small success in the defying heart technique would double one's strength. Achieving full mastery would strengthen him tenfold. With Lin Feng's current conditions, this tenfold strengthening would be quite terrifying. With his saber skills and mastery, it was very likely that his battle strength would enter the next level. World Master. Chapter 3184. Netherkill World, at the intersection of the 9 hells. Hum, hum, hum. The boiling infernal slaughter lava crazily surged upwards and landed on the 9 pitch-black chains that were tens of millions of kilometers long, unable to damage them in the slightest. On a floating platform in the middle of the 9 pitch-black chains, a giant golden-black cocoon stood on the sunken ground. Streaks of golden patterns flashed with light. "Oh, look who's here!" The Black Spring Hell King raised his eyebrows. The Hell King of the Lower Spring Hell King glanced at him and snorted. "That idiot Blade Light and Sword, what's he doing here?" In the distance, a light spot was moving rapidly. His feet stepped on the black chains, making clanking sounds. He leaped into the distance and landed steadily on the suspended platform. There was a relaxed smile on his face. Wasn't that the light of his blade and the shadow of his sword? Why did you come by yourself today? Hell King Black Spring smiled gracefully and winked charmingly at Saber and Sword Shadow. Hee, I came to take a look. Blade Light and Sword stared at the giant golden-black cocoon without blinking. His eyes were filled with strong desire and expectation. He frowned slightly. It's so slow. It's not that slow. It's almost 1/5 of its energy. The Black Spring Hell King said lazily. It's going to take a long time. Blade Light and Sword sighed softly, then took out a wrinkled black round pot and threw it over. The Black Spring Hell King caught it and waited. It doesn't have much energy? Don't mention it. Blade Light and Sword curled his lips. There's a problem on my side. Ah, there's a problem? Can our Cold Spring Hell King be stumped? The Black Spring Hell King sneered and glanced at him. Blade Light and Sword ignored him and looked at the Black Spring Hell King. A weirdo has appeared in the Hongmeng Sea. His strength. Let's not talk about his strength, but he can absorb my materialized will. Oh, the Black Spring Hell King sneered. Continuous absorption? Blade Light and Sword nodded. Even my willpower attack has no effect on him. The Black Spring Hell King laughed. If he can absorb materialized will, he at least has materialized will himself. It's useless to attack him with willpower. The easiest way is to kill him on the battlefield. Blade Light Sword shook his head. He's hiding. He muttered to himself, this is difficult. Based on what you've said, his cultivation should have reached the dimensional realm. That's why he's able to absorb the will of others for his own use. Dimensional realm? The 3 kings of 9 hells were shocked. Impossible. Blade Light and Sword Shadow were dumbfounded. How could a dimensional realm expert appear in the Hongmeng Sea? Isn't that the same as the Emperor? It's different. Shaking his head, he replied, the dimensional realm is a system. Just like the life forms that are naturally born in the dimensional realm, they're all life forms that have reached a certain level. However, there are also differences in strength. How can a mere Hongmeng Sea have a cultivator stronger than the Emperor? Blade Light and Sword let out a light sigh, his expression softening a little. What should I do next? Kill them if you see them, he said casually. Although he's a dimensional realm expert, based on what you've said, he shouldn't be too strong. Perhaps he had a fortuitous encounter in the dimensional realm that allowed him to evolve into a butterfly. If you can't kill him, just leave him be. A dimensional realm expert can't change anything. Unstoppable improvement, an invincible army will soon attack the dimensional passage. When the time comes, we can rush in and flatten the Hongmeng Sea. Blade Light Sword grinned. Then I'll wait for the good news. In the Hongmeng Sea, the Hongmeng dual pole towers stood tall. Lin Feng and Yi Chun left the 3rd dimensional passage and headed toward the 4th dimensional passage. They brought along Shi Wanli, who had been cultivating in the dual pole tower for more than 10 eras. After more than 10 eras of tempering his willpower, Shi Wanli had improved rapidly. He was not weak to begin with. When he unleashed his full strength, he could reach the level of a pinnacle universe master. Besides, after entering the dimensional passage, his strength in all aspects could be further improved. This opportunity was hard to come by. Lin Feng vaguely felt that Viral would be of help to Shi Wanli's shackles. Viral, which surpassed all forms of energy, had the absolute power to break all shackles. The 4th dimensional passage was not far from the 3rd dimensional passage. Just like the other dimensional passages, the 4th dimensional passage had a protective array outside to prevent cultivators from entering by mistake. You 3 are? The great being from the Tai Chi origin chaotic universe guarding outside the array was Spear God Luo Meng, an ultimate universe master and a disciple of world master Dao Ji. We were sent by Fan Zhu, Yi Chun said. Please follow me. Spear God Luo Meng smiled. Although there were some doubts and concerns in his eyes, he quickly opened the array passage. The surrounding silver light dispersed, revealing a passage that looked like a stairway to heaven. Lin Feng, Chun, and Chun followed. Lin Feng could naturally guess spear god Luo Meng's doubts. Out of the three of them, Chun and Wanli were only almighties. Lin Feng was even more ridiculous, as he was a Yuan venerate. It would be strange if he had no doubts. However, spear god Luo Meng's self-restraint was very good. He did not ask anything that he should not ask. Soon, Lin Feng, Chun, and Chun were brought into the fourth-dimensional passage. Hua. Entering the dimensional passageway, once again, Lin Feng was already extremely familiar with it. However, the distance of 50,000 kilometers was still extremely foreign to him. His large eyes scanned the surroundings as he was deeply shocked by this foreign, yet powerful region. Every cultivator who entered the dimensional passage for the first time was like this. Teacher and the others are not far ahead, so I won't send you off. The powerhouses sent by Great Change should be arriving soon. Spear god Luo Meng smiled and bowed. Okay, thank you. Lin Feng and the others returned the gesture. Naturally, it was not just the Taichu that had come. Great Change Origin and Great Simplicity Origin would definitely send powerhouses to support them. Although they should only be universe rulers, this was a token of their appreciation. I wonder who Great Change Origin will send over? It would be great if it was Light. Chun was in high spirits, his eyes full of challenge. Light! Lin Feng and Shi Wanli sped forward together. Chun, who was walking side by side with Lin Feng, asked in surprise, "You don't know him?" "I don't know him." Lin Feng smiled. "I'm not too familiar with the powerhouses of the other four origin chaotic universes, except for the World Masters." "Okay." Chun shrugged. "Light is the only disciple of the Chaos Tao Lord. He is very famous in the Hongmeng Sea. Not only is he the #1 genius of the Great Change Origin Chaotic Universe, but he is also the #1 genius of the Hongmeng Sea. He is also an almighty like me, but his combat strength has already reached the level of a world master. So powerful." Lin Feng remembered the name Light. "Not as powerful as you." Chun glanced at Lin Feng and muttered. He had originally thought that Light was very powerful, but after meeting Lin Feng, he understood that there was always someone better than him. No, this guy was not human at all. "I think I see a powerhouse from the Taichu Origin Chaotic Universe." Lin Feng's eyes lit up. "I see him too." Chun sped up. Chapter 3185. Even without seeing the person, he could see the array. From Fanzhou, Lin Feng already knew that Dao Ji was not only a true mental cultivator among the 5 great worlds, but he was also the most knowledgeable in ancient arrays. Outside his Taiji sect, there were 9 major restrictions, 99 minor restrictions, and a protective array. The array here could not be compared to the protective array, but it was not ordinary either. Chinquin after Chinquin appeared, and many Taiji diagrams contained powerful Hongmeng energy. They formed a huge semicircular shield, enveloping all the cultivators inside. It was as if an indestructible fortress had been built, blocking all the escape routes. The dimensional passageway was not big, only about 300 meters in diameter. It could be easily covered. In terms of defense, it is stronger than Fanzhou's 9 Tunes Golden Fall array. This was Lin Feng's intuition. The 9 Tunes Golden Fall array was more of a restraining and amplifying array. It was not a true defensive array. Fanzhou had combined Hongmeng's source item and Hongmeng's natural order to form it. However, this Taiji array was a true defensive array. Just its aura alone was very different. Hua. As Lin Feng, Chun, and Shi Wanli approached, a passageway appeared in the Taiji array. Lin Feng and the other 2 entered. The passageway was sealed, and the surroundings suddenly felt empty. Even the pressure of the dimensional passageway disappeared. "A world. Welcome, my 3 friends." A deep and kind voice came from the array. The Taiji diagram in front of Lin Feng shook. In an instant, it was as if the clouds had been parted, and he saw a scene in front of him. More than 10 cultivators were looking at him strangely. Among them, the most eye-catching was undoubtedly the long-bearded elder sitting cross-legged in the middle of the array. He was wearing a Taiji robe, and his white hair fluttered in the wind. He looked a little like the Tao Yin Palace Master. Compared to Fan Zhu, he looked more like an immortal and less like a mortal. Dao Wuji. Beside him was an old man who looked 90% similar to him. His arms were crossed over his chest, and his head was slightly raised. His eyes were filled with arrogance, and he wore a black Taoist robe. His long black hair was like spirit snakes, and his killing intent was strong. On the other side, there was a man dressed in a golden windbreaker with a red horn on his head. He had a green face and solid scales all over his body. He had a faint smile on his face as he sized up the three of them. Juniors Yichen, Lin Feng, and Shi Wanli greet the Tai Chi sect leader. Lin Feng and the other two bowed. Dao Wuji was a title that only world lords of the same generation could address. Lin Feng and the other two were all juniors, so they naturally couldn't call him by his name. Dao Wuji was not only the only world lord of the Primal Chaos universe, but he was also the founder of the Primal Chaos sect. Brother Fan, you are too kind. Dao Wuji smiled and waved a whisk in his hand. Instantly, 3 rays of light shot towards Lin Feng and the other two. Yichen, Lin Feng, and Shi Wanli reached out to take them. They were 3 identical black and white fruits. They faintly formed a Tai Chi pattern and contained powerful Hongmeng energy. It was very strange. These are the Tai Chi origin fruits from the one and only Tai Chi origin world tree in the Primal Chaos universe. They are very rare and very beneficial to heart cultivators. If you're not a heart cultivator, eating them can increase your heart power and will. With Dao Wuji's eyesight, he could see through the cultivation of the 3 at a glance. He knew that Lin Feng and Shi Wanli were heart cultivators, and Yichen was a super universe body. Thank you, Tai Chi sect leader. Lin Feng and the other two bowed and thanked him. Tai Chi origin fruits might not form even once in tens of millions of eras. They were comparable to Hongmeng origin items. Just as Fan Zhu said, Dao Wuji was the world lord of the Primal Chaos universe, so he naturally gave a generous gift. Humph! Beside Dao Wuji, there was a black-robed elder who looked 90% similar to Dao Wuji. He glanced at Dao Wuji and said, "It depends on who you're being generous to." The Taichu sent some small fries over. It's obvious that they're just being perfunctory. Sect leader, you're wrong. Yichen is the top great being of the Taichu. His battle power is close to that of an ultimate universe leader. In the entire Hongmeng Ocean, only Light and Huang Ho are stronger than him. A red-horned man in a long robe smiled. We meet again, Yichen. Not far away, a youth who looked like he was cast from steel walked over. He had a white scarf tied around his head. His eyes were bright like a tiger's. Taisu Huang Ho. He was second among the great beings in the Hongmeng Ocean, second only to Light from Tai. Huang Ho. Yichen's eyes gleamed. He and Huang Ho were old rivals. He didn't want to meet here. But these two, Lin Feng and Shi Wanli, right? I've never seen or heard of them before. The man with a single red horn and a body covered in scales looked Lin Feng up and down. Suddenly, he frowned and stared at Lin Feng. Yuan Venerate? Could it be? The red-horned man's eyes lit up. The Taichu Lin Feng who defeated Huang Zun's investiture of the gods and the ultimate god's investiture of the gods. Everyone was in an uproar when they heard this. Almost no one present had heard of Lin Feng's name. However, the super genius who had defeated Huang Zun and the ultimate god's investiture of the gods was indeed famous. The appearance of the Taichu Lin Feng had shocked the Hongmeng Ocean. His battle record on the investiture of the gods had even surpassed that of a group of world masters. That's right. He is the future hope of the Taichu, Lin Feng. Yichen said proudly. The great beings of the Taichu origin universe finally understood why the Taichu origin universe had sent a Yuan Venerate over. He wasn't an ordinary Yuan Venerate, but the little monster who had defeated the investiture of the gods. Rumor had it that his battle power had reached the pinnacle of universe masters. Yichen, who had reached the threshold of ultimate universe masters, Yuan Venerate Lin Feng, who had reached the pinnacle of universe masters, and an unknown great being. Fan Zhu's reinforcements weren't too bad. Let me introduce you to my three little friends. Dao Wuji's expression didn't change from head to toe, as if everything was according to his will. He waved his horsetail whisk and landed it on the Red Horn Man. Soul Erosion Sect leader, his left protector, Tian Shi Wang, and his right protector, Soul Empress. Lin Feng and the other two bowed. Soul Erosion Sect leader was an ultimate universe master, and his left and right protectors were both pinnacle universe masters. My younger brother, Limitless Sect leader, is Under Dragon Loose Cultivator, 10 Ears Loose Cultivator, and Yao Yi Loose Cultivator. The black-robed elder was still arrogant and disdainful, as if he didn't think much of Lin Feng and the other two. However, the three loose cultivators were quite polite and bowed slightly. Lin Feng and the other two bowed back. You've already met my disciple, Luo Meng. Dao Wuji waved his horsetail whisk again and said softly, Bloody and Dark Thunder Saint are also under my sect. Behind Dao Wuji, Bloody and Dark Thunder Saint bowed. Both of them were pinnacle universe masters, but they weren't as strong as spear god Luo Meng. These two are cultivators from the Grand Essence Origin universe. They've just arrived. Dao Wuji looked over. Green Fox Mansion Master. A long-eared man smiled with squinted eyes. Huang Sui. Huang Sui held his blade with both hands and looked proud. Chapter 3186. There were 3 Ultimate Universe Masters and 7 Pinnacle Universe Masters. In terms of combat power, Tai Chi Origin Universe was indeed the weakest among the 5. After all, Taichu had 5 Ultimate Universe Masters, not to mention Tai Yi and Tai Su. Every Origin Universe had a different power structure. Taichu had 5 Supreme Masters, while Tai Chi had 3 sects: Tai Chi Sect, Limitless Sect, and Soul Eroding Sect. If I may ask, when was the last time the Nether Sha clan attacked? And how should we help them if they attack again? Lin Feng asked after getting to know the Great Beings. It was better to know these things as soon as possible. The Great Beings of Tai Chi Origin Universe looked at him curiously. Theoretically, these things should be asked by Yi Chun, who was more powerful. However, it was a small matter, and it was not a big problem for anyone to ask. The last attack happened not long ago, and the next one will be at least 1 era later. Soul Eroding Sect leader looked fierce, but he was actually approachable. One cannot judge a book by its cover. Lin Feng nodded. In other words, Tai Chi Origin Universe had asked for help because it could not withstand the last attack. Our way of defending against the Nether Sha clan is different from Taichu's. Soul Eroding Sect leader pointed at the Tai Chi shield and said, all the defenses are centered around the infinite Tai Chi array and Tai Chi Sect leader. We don't fight directly with the Nether Sha clan. Don't fight directly? Lin Feng was curious. Just rely on the infinite Tai Chi array? Soul Eroding Sect leader nodded. When the time comes, all you need to do is transfer your power to the infinite Tai Chi array. Tai Chi Sect leader can combine all the power and use the infinite Tai Chi array to fight against the Nether Sha clan. Lin Feng nodded as if he understood. He almost understood. However, he would only know how to do it during the real battle. However, Tai Chi Sect leader was too powerful. There were so many universe masters here, and he could combine all the different Hongmeng energies for his own use. The world master of the primal chaos universe is indeed extraordinary. Lin Feng sighed inwardly. No wonder Ancestor Fan admired him and called him a true heart cultivator. If he could obtain the guidance of the Taiji Sect Master, he would definitely benefit greatly. Can we leave the limitless Taiji formation normally? Lin Feng asked. Of course. The Soul Erosion Sect Master said. However, don't go too far away. You must return to the boundless Tai Chi formation after an era to prevent the Netherkill clan from suddenly attacking. All right, Lin Fengzheng replied. Suddenly, the light of the boundless Taiji formation flashed, and 3 figures entered his eyes. Walking at the front was the righteous-looking spear god, Luo Meng. Half a step behind him was a man and a woman. The woman was petite and had a pair of transparent wings on her back. She looked like a fairy from a painting. She had a sweet smile on her face. The man was handsome and tall. There was a sword at his waist. His eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. There was a small crack between his eyebrows, which seemed to be a third eye. Guang, Ichen, and Huang Sui's gazes locked onto the handsome man at the same time. Fairy Ling Dai. The Soul Erosion sect leader greeted her with a smile. It was as if he had met an old friend of hers. Greetings, Tai Chi sect leader. Fairy Ling Dai and Guang stood not far from Lin Feng and Ichen. They bowed respectfully to Dao Wuji. Their auras were different. They were much stronger than Lin Feng and Ichen's. Fairy Ling Dai was a renowned ruler of the ultimate universe. Guang was the #1 genius of the Hongmeng Sea. His battle power was comparable to a world master. Great! The Limitless sect leader, who had looked down on Lin Feng, was delighted. The arrival of Fairy Ling Dai and Guang had greatly increased the strength of the Fourth Dimension's passageway. They were more confident in resisting the Netherkill clan. Welcome, my two little friends. Dao Wuji did not change much. He greeted Lin Feng and the others the same way. He also gave him 2 Tai Chi origin fruits as a greeting gift. It was as if to Dao Wuji, it did not matter who helped him. Lin Feng quickly got to know the 2 experts sent by the Tai Chi origin universe. In all honesty, they were stronger than Tai Chu and Tai Su. He was indeed the strongest in the 5 great origin universe. They guarded the First Dimension's passageway and fought against the Netherkill clan. Even the reinforcements they sent were top experts. Ichen and Huang Qi were hostile to Guang. However, Guang was not interested in them. He quickly went to the side to cultivate. There was still some time before the Netherkill clan's next attack. Lin Feng, Ichen, and Shirwan Li also left the infinite Tai Chi formation and entered the dimensional space to cultivate. They were not familiar with each other. There was no need to get close. They just had to do their own thing. I'll leave second brother to you, Brother Ichen, Lin Feng said. Don't worry. Ichen grinned. Just focus on your destruction. The cultivators of the primal chaos universe did not know, but Ichen naturally knew that Lin Feng had a special ability that allowed him to absorb the wills within the dimensional passageways. This ability was not to be underestimated, and it played a decisive role in the battle within the dimensional passageways. This was also the main reason why Fan Zhu had sent Lin Feng here. Among the 4-dimensional space, the most dangerous one was the 4th-dimensional space. Okay. Lin Feng felt extremely reassured in handing over 100,000 Li to Ichen. Ichen had trained in the dimensional space for over 100 eras and was much more experienced than Lin Feng. With him taking care of second brother 100,000 Li, it would be more appropriate for him to do so. Moreover, Lin Feng had come with a mission. Whoosh! Lin Feng quickly began to carry out his mission. His right hand pressed against the dimensional space's barrier. Immediately, he felt an even more powerful energy than before. It was a more powerful will. It was filled with a domineering aura. So this is the Yellow Springs Hell Overlord's will to be invincible. Lin Feng was deeply shocked. It was very strong. Just from the tip of the iceberg, one could see 100 things. The Yellow Spring Hell Overlord's strength was far beyond that of blades and swords. His domineering aura was enough to destroy everything. He was one of the 3 strongest world masters of the Netherkill clan. Invincible. It was the same will, but the purity of the energy contained was very different. Hiss. The moment Lin Feng inhaled, he felt a strong will impact. It was many times stronger than the will impact in the 3rd-dimensional space. His mind trembled slightly. Fortunately, Lin Feng's will was as tough as steel. Although he was slightly passive, he could still resist it easily. Very good. Lin Feng was very satisfied. The stronger the will, the better the effect of his absorption. The golden core of the universe was still waiting for him to open it. In the 3rd-dimensional space, the blades and sword were like walking on thin ice. They did not give him any chance. Now that he was in the 4th-dimensional space, there was more energy than the 3rd-dimensional space. He could absorb it freely. This feeling was like a bird flying freely in the sky. Refreshing. Chapter 3187. Netherkill World, Cold Spring Prison. Oh, it's been peaceful for the past few eras. Blade light and swords were locked onto the dimensional channel as he slowly strengthened it. This brat hasn't come to cause trouble. Has he given up? He's just a little thief. Blade light and sword sneered, but there was no underestimation on his face. He was very clear about how strong the dimensional realm was. A mere Hongming C could actually give birth to a dimensional realm expert. Once such an expert grew up, his strength would be unpredictable. Not only was his growth rate terrifying, but his upper limit was also extremely high. For example, their emperor had swept through the 9 great netherworld prisons. Blade light and sword's gaze fell on his left arm. The longest and newest scar was given by the emperor. This was also what he was most proud of. In that attack, just now, there seems to be a little guy missing from the Hongmeng Sea. Blade light and sword still had some memories of Lin Feng. It was not that Lin Feng was strong, but that the previous attack on Lin Feng gave him a sense of familiarity. Although he could not recall what that familiarity was, Blade light and sword still remembered Lin Feng. He did not see him during the attack this time. A sense of familiarity. Blade light and sword frowned slightly, his eyes shining. Wait, could it be that I'm familiar with him because I've fought with him before? His aura is very unfamiliar, and it's a new combat power that has just appeared. Based on the time, it's very similar to that bastard who destroyed the dimensional channel. It's him. Blade light and sword suddenly widened his eyes. His sharp blade aura and sword aura formed a net, crazily attacking the surroundings, causing the cold spring to shake violently. Blade light and sword clenched his teeth, veins popping out on his face. It's him. It must be him. Damn it. I actually missed a great opportunity to kill him. Damn it. His anger soared to the sky. Thinking about how the bastard he wanted to kill had appeared in front of him, but was ignored by him, Blade light and sword felt a huge pain in his heart. He was really stupid. In front of him, he let him go just like that. It's okay. He will definitely appear again. At this point, Blade light and sword shadow could only comfort himself like this. He calmed down the surging anger in his heart, his eyes sparkling with killing intent. Since you have the guts to enter the battlefield once, there will definitely be a second time and a third time. When the time comes, I will definitely cut him into pieces. Fourth dimension passageway. Lin Feng, I Chen, and Shi Li had already returned to the limitless Tai Chi formation. Since they were here, they naturally had to listen to Dao Wuji's commands. A team that was in a state of disunity would not be able to unleash their full potential. Furthermore, through the absorption of the third dimension passageway, Lin Feng had also come to a conclusion. He knew when to stop. Wasn't it a good thing that Invincible didn't notice after absorbing for an era? If this continued, and they were discovered, the situation would turn into a tug-of-war like that of the third-dimensional passageway. No one would be able to gain any advantages. The current situation was just right. Even if Invincible World noticed the decrease in the energy of the dimensional passageway, he wouldn't be too bothered if he couldn't find out why. There was a strategy called small streams flow long. As long as Invincible 10,000 didn't notice it, he would be able to slowly absorb the will of manifestation. The will of manifestation here was much purer than the will of manifestation in the third dimension. The effect was excellent. After returning to the limitless Tai Chi formation, Lin Feng started to expand the golden heart of the universe. The majestic energy was wantonly absorbing the will of manifestation. Lin Feng's internal universe was now filled with energy and had enough ammunition to expand it. 70 times, 75 times, 80 times. Although the expansion of the golden heart of the universe was getting harder and harder, under the strengthening of Invincible World's pure will of manifestation, it was still unstoppable. Lin Feng had almost exhausted all of the will of manifestation to strengthen the golden heart of the universe. It didn't matter if the will of manifestation was gone. After all, he could absorb it again very quickly. Lin Feng really wanted to know how long he could absorb without being discovered. Oh, Dao Wuji, who was sitting cross-legged in the center of the formation, had his white hair fluttering in the wind. His calm and deep eyes landed on Lin Feng. There was a look of admiration. With his mental cultivation, he could easily see through Lin Feng. This brat was extraordinary. However, his usage of the will of manifestation was rather crude. It was like holding a treasured sword and only using it to chop. He didn't know how to unleash its full power. Brother Fan, you are really cunning. You stuff your own man here. Dao Wuji's long white beard swayed as he looked at Lin Feng. He seemed to appreciate his talent. This was the most outstanding mental cultivator he had ever seen. There was no other. Mental cultivators had different paths. For example, he and the Chaos Dao Lord were two different types of mental cultivators. It was hard to say who was better and who was worse. It was just that the paths they walked were slightly different. My friend, this is not how you use the will of manifestation. Dao Wuji's voice entered Lin Feng's ears. Lin Feng, who was trying to figure out how to use the will of manifestation, was shocked. He found the source of the voice, and his eyes lit up. Senior, please enlighten me. Listen carefully, since he planned to teach Lin Feng. Dao Wuji would not hide anything. At this stage, there was no distinction between the primordial chaos universe and the primordial chaos universe. If Lin Feng could become stronger, it would be of great help to the primordial chaos universe. In terms of mental cultivation and the use of the will, if Dao Wuji claimed to be second, no other cultivator in the primordial chaos sea would dare to claim to be first, not even the primordial chaos Dao Lords. Dao Wuji was the only one in the Hongmeng Sea who could build a dimensional channel. I see. This is the will of manifestation. I can't believe it can be used like this. I understand now. So the will of manifestation can form a dimensional channel. Lin Feng enjoyed the treatment of a VIP. The experts sent by the Primal Chaos Universe and the Primal Chaos Universe to help did not receive personal guidance from Dao Wuji, but Lin Feng did. It wasn't that Lin Feng contributed much, but that Dao Wuji favored Lin Feng. As powerful as Dao Wuji was, he was already shackled. Instead, he paid more attention to the young mental cultivators in the Hongmeng Sea. After all, it was hard to find a good disciple. Although Lin Feng was not a cultivator from the Primal Chaos Universe, he was the best mental cultivation seedling that Dao Wuji had ever seen. Even if he did not pass on his legacy, Dao Wuji could not help but give him pointers. Everything was as Fanzu expected. However, Fanzu thought that Dao Wuji knew about Lin Feng's usefulness and the special effect he had on the Nethersha race. He thought that Dao Wuji would teach Lin Feng to repay the favor. He did not expect that Dao Wuji would teach Lin Feng just because he appreciated the talent. Everything was natural. Dao Wuji did not lose out, and Lin Feng did what he should. After all, it was a fact that the energy of the dimensional channel had weakened in this era, and it would continue to weaken. When Lin Feng's understanding and cultivation of the will of manifestation reached a new level, the absorption effect would be even more prominent. In the process of giving pointers to Lin Feng, Dao Wuji had unknowingly helped him. Helping others benefits oneself. Chapter 3188. Dao Wuji did not give many pointers, but they were all essences. He opened a door for Lin Feng to manifest his will. As the saying goes, the teacher can only show the way, but the cultivation is up to the individual. Dao Wuji was not Lin Feng's teacher, and he was already doing him a huge favor by giving him some pointers and clearing up the fog around Lin Feng. Lin Feng might not be able to reach the level of building the dimensional channel, but at least he knew how to proceed and how to manifest his will. This was very important. He did not cultivate for long as the attack of the Nethersha clan arrived. All the experts in the Taiji Origin Chaotic Universe were on high alert. With Dao Wuji as the core, they maintained the boundless Taiji formation. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Spots of light appeared under the feet of the cultivators. Faint light rays connected Dao Wuji and every cultivator. Dao Wuji's calm voice rang out from the formation and entered the hearts of every cultivator. Do not resist. Release your strength as much as you can. His voice sounded, calming the hearts of everyone. In an instant, Every spot of light in the boundless Taiji formation shone with a different color. The aura of every expert surged. Beside Lin Feng, Yi Chun and Shi Wan Li did the same without any hesitation. Whoosh! Lin Feng felt his golden Hongmeng power being sucked away. At this moment, he had completely entered the boundless Taiji formation and became a component of the formation. Every cultivator was a formation eye of the boundless Taiji formation, and he was the center of the formation. It was very mysterious. All the energy was converted into a whole, and with Dao Wu Ji as the core, it was used appropriately. Taiji Hongmeng Law. Lin Feng entered the formation wholeheartedly. He felt a gentle yet powerful force maintaining the entire boundless Taiji formation. That was the level 9 Hongmeng Law, Taiji. It was soft but powerful. It could move 1,000 kilograms with little effort. No matter how the Nether Sha clan experts attacked, the boundless Taiji formation could gently dissolve them without any damage. Dao Wu Ji had truly demonstrated what it meant to be invincible. The wind was calm, and the clouds were clear, calm, and composed. Lin Feng looked over and did not see anything unusual about Dao Wu Ji. However, Lin Feng knew that this seemingly easy situation was not necessarily easy. If it could be easily resisted, the Taiji Origin Chaos universe would not have needed to ask for help. That was for the Nether Sha clan to see. However, Lin Feng only cared about the output of energy and his own cultivation. He did not care if Dao Wuji was having an easy time or not. After all, these things were beyond his power. This is Taiji. In the Tai Chi Origin Chaotic Universe, there was a level 9 Hongmeng Law that was everywhere and the easiest to comprehend. It was Tai Chi. Of course, this so-called ease of comprehension was only relative. Tai Chi itself was still a Hongmeng Law of the 9th order. Its power shackles were there. However, compared to other 9th order Hongmeng laws, comprehending them in the Tai Chi Origin universe was undoubtedly much easier. And now, it was the same in the boundless Tai Chi formation, or even better. A small ancient formation contained enormous power of the Tai Chi Hongmeng Law. Now that Lin Feng was part of the boundless Tai Chi formation, his comprehension of the Hongmeng Law of the Tai Chi Origin universe was even more profound. Unfortunately, Lin Feng's attainments in the Hongji path were too shallow. If he comprehended the level 8 Hongmeng Law of the 8th order, he might have chance. But the level 9 was too far away. No matter how difficult it was to understand the heavenly book, as long as he continued to read it, there would be some gains. Although Lin Feng did not know if these gains would help him comprehend the Hongmeng Law of the Tai Chi Origin universe in the future, his attainments in the Hongji path had improved. He is invincible. Through the boundless Tai Chi formation, Lin Feng saw the Nether Sha Clan 9 Hell's King attacking the 4th dimension. The Netherworld Hell King, invincible. He was one of the 3 strongest world lords of the Nether Sha clan. He did not have any weapons, only a pair of fists. His fists were covered with the most ordinary boxing gloves, perfectly covering his indestructible iron fists. This was his life weapon. In terms of appearance, it was far inferior to Blade Light and Sword Shadow's life weapon. However, the life weapon of the Nether Sha clan never won by appearance. Its power was the key. Boom, boom, boom. Every punch of Invincible was filled with overbearing and peerless destructive power, trying to destroy the boundless Tai Chi formation. The attacks of the other Hell Lords could not do anything to the formation. Only Invincible's every attack caused the boundless Tai Chi formation to change rapidly. Its energy was depleted continuously, and it even trembled slightly. The threat was huge. The golden twisted W between Invincible's eyebrows was particularly eye-catching. Invincible could also use Break, but like Blade Light and Sword Shadow, he did not use it. He was indeed afraid that the dimensional passage would collapse and fail, turning complexity into simplicity. This might be the true ultimate attack. Lin Feng could not see through Invincible's attack at all. Invincible's realm was far above his, but Lin Feng knew that if he were to fight Invincible now, he would die without a doubt. His punches seemed slow, but they enveloped everything and could not be blocked. Boom! Crack. Cracks appeared on the boundless Tai Chi formation. Dao Wuji, who had always been calm, had his white hair fluttering. His aura surged, and his hands formed a Tai Chi pattern. In an instant, a power that was not inferior to Invincible's was blasted out. Pung! In a clash of absolute power, even someone as strong as Invincible retreated a little. At this moment, the originally shattered, boundless Tai Chi formation healed, and Dao Wuji's expression returned to normal. Tai Chi, fist technique. That instant of confrontation left a deep impression in Lin Feng's mind. At the moment of contact, it was as if the realm of power had been pushed apart. Originally, it was a sealed state of comprehension. Lin Feng had been observing and comprehending this battle in the fourth dimension. Not only did he have a slight understanding of Tai Chi and Hongmeng, he also had a deep understanding of Invincible's tyrannical fist technique. The lower the starting point, the deeper the comprehension. Many universe rulers had perfected their cultivation in all aspects, but their comprehension was far inferior to Lin Feng's. No matter if it was the primordial laws of Tai Chi or the unrivaled fist technique, they were both extremely profound and complicated, and their levels were extremely high. Lin Feng didn't have any clue if he wanted to comprehend a single one of them. But at the instant the two of them collided, it was as if time had frozen, and it lingered on for a long time. This is it. Lin Feng, who had just created the second move of the dark murdering blade technique, dark/true simplicity, suddenly had a new comprehension. The realm of Tai Chi and Hongmeng were far beyond Lin Feng's level, but they gave Lin Feng new inspiration. Whether it was Hongmeng's laws or realm, they were all part of the primal chaos Tao. This battle was worth it. Lin Feng released a large amount of golden Hongmeng power. It was endless, full, and powerful. The surrounding powerhouses of the Tai Chi origin chaotic universe looked over, their original doubts long gone. So what if he was a Yuan Venerate? A Yuan Venerate could also possess the power of a universe ruler, and they were even stronger than them. Golden Hongmeng power was a major realm for mind cultivators. Hongmeng Gold Body. Chapter 3189. The longer the battle went on, the more Lin Feng comprehended. However, it was a pity that even if Invincible's strength was stronger than Blade Light and Sword Shadow, he still couldn't do anything to Dao Wuji's infinite Tai Chi formation without using Extreme Break, even if he was just a hair away from breaking the formation. However, this was not easy to overcome. Retreat. Lin Feng let out a sigh of relief. His energy was almost depleted. Although he was not the one fighting, this method of fighting was more exhausting than fighting himself. After all, it was an unreserved sacrifice. However, Lin Feng still hoped that this battle could last a little longer. Whether it was Dao Wuji's Tai Chi Hongmeng Law or Invincible's fist technique realm, Lin Feng benefited a lot. Especially when the two collided, Lin Feng felt as if he was in the middle of the formation. Next time, I'll have to wait for more than an era. Lin Feng relaxed and recovered his energy. The scene of Dao Wuji and unrivaled Wan Fu's battle lingered in his mind, turning into his own saber art. It lingered there for a long time. This one era was enough for him to digest. Perhaps in the next battle, the third move of the dark murdering blade technique would have an embryonic form. No wonder Fan Zhu wanted me to come to the fourth dimension. Lin Feng finally understood. At his level of cultivation, it was difficult to improve the basics. However, there was still a lot of room for improvement in the realm. In the fourth dimension, he could learn many things that he could not learn in the third dimension. This was a rare opportunity. In comparison, the price he paid was not high. Moreover, his basics could still be improved in the fourth dimension. For example, the golden heart of the universe. After the end of the war, Lin Feng continued to train with 1 Shun and 100,000 miles. Within the dimensional passageway and dimensional space, every bit of training time was extremely precious. After all, this was a dimensional passageway that even Ancestor Fan was unable to construct. Here, there was Viral that was above all energy, like a king. This was especially so for those who had just come into contact with Viral's baptism. The effect of the baptism was the greatest. The stronger one's foundation was, the greater the improvement. World lords in the dimensional space had the least improvement, followed by universe dominators. There was no second person like Lin Feng in the entire Hongmeng Sea. His improvement was the most terrifying. He hasn't noticed yet. Lin Feng continued to absorb the energy from Invincible's dimensional passageway. The effect of the energy here was much better than that of the third-dimensional passageway, and the conversion rate was also much higher. Having just completed another expansion of the golden core of the universe, Lin Feng now had an extreme desire to manifest his willpower. Invincible Army doesn't look as cunning as Blade Light and Sword Shadow. Furthermore, the speed at which he reinforces the dimensional passageway is faster than the speed at which he reinforces it. It shouldn't be that easy for him to discover any flaws. Even if Lin Feng were to absorb as much as he could, he would only be able to slow down the rate of strengthening the dimensional passageway. This was unlike the dimensional passageway, where the dimensional passageway's energy was weakened. Because Invincible was the strongest world lord, the speed at which he built the dimensional channel was far faster than Blade Light and Sword Shadow. Epoch after epoch passed. Lin Feng waited for an opportunity to absorb the energy from the dimensional passageway. While comprehending the will of manifestation that Dao Wuji had imparted to him, he also created a new blade technique. When the Netherkill clan's attack arrived, Lin Feng would act as the eye of the array and the energy source to comprehend the laws of Taiji Hongmeng and Invincible's fist technique. It was very fulfilling. The current Lin Feng was more than 10 times stronger than when he had just stepped into the dual towers of Hongmeng. In the fourth dimensional passageway, Wuji, have you noticed that the Taiji sect leader is taking special care of that Lin Feng? The sect leader of the Soul Erosion sect asked. Nonsense, even a blind person can see that. The sect leader of the Limitless sect sneered and glanced at Dao Wuji with contempt. He treats the geniuses of his own primal chaos universe like grass and treats the geniuses of other primal chaos universes like treasure. This won't do, the sect leader of the Soul Erosion sect said. It's not up to us to decide. The sect leader of the Limitless sect crossed his arms and his black hair swayed. He has the final say here and in the Taiji primal chaos universe. Us? Huh, we're just a slightly useful helper. The sect leader of the Soul Erosion sect's expression changed, but he did not refute. To put it nicely, the Taiji primal chaos universe was a tripartite balance of power. The Taiji sect, the Limitless sect, and the Soul Erosion sect each controlled 1/3 of the Taiji primal chaos universe. However, in reality, the Taiji sect was still the one in charge. This was because Dao Wuji was the master of the world. This was because he was very strong and had the support of the people. It was very realistic and very cruel. In this world, the strong were the ones who had the final say. Even now, it was the same in the fourth dimensional passageway. Without Dao Wuji controlling the limitless Tai Chi array, the fourth dimensional passageway would have been conquered long ago. Everyone had witnessed the invincible strength of the limitless Tai Chi array. If it were not for the uniqueness of the limitless Tai Chi array, Dao Wuji would have been defeated in a one-on-one battle. Indeed, we can't say, but the other primal chaos universes can. The Soul Erosion sect leader's eyes flashed. He had always been ambitious and wanted to replace Dao Wuji. His strength had already reached the ultimate universe dominator level, and his combat power had even crossed the threshold of a world master. He was only one step away from becoming a true world master. How could Dao Wuji become a world master? It was because he occupied the heart of the Taiji primal chaos universe and controlled the Taiji Hongmeng laws. The Soul Erosion sect leader believed that as long as he could replace Dao Wuji, he could also become a world master. He would not be any weaker than Dao Wuji. He would not be willing to be inferior to Dao Wuji. In the limitless Tai Chi array, the cultivators waited patiently. The next attack from the Nether Sha clan was very close. However, the cultivators were not too worried. Firstly, they had experienced such battles many times. Secondly, with Dao Wuji around, they did not need to fight to the death. They only needed to contribute their energy. Lin Feng seized the time to cultivate. Since the first time Dao Wuji taught him the secret of manifesting willpower, Dao Wuji would teach him alone every era and give him treasures. Lin Feng had received nearly 10 Tai Chi origin fruits from the unique Tai Chi origin world tree in the Hongmeng Sea. He alone had received more than all the great beings in the Tai Chi origin primal chaos universe combined. These were of great help to the golden heart of the universe. Tai Chi sect leader, Green Fox, has something I don't understand. May I ask? The Green Fox sect leader of the Tai Chi origin primal chaos universe narrowed his eyes and smiled. Go ahead. Dao Wuji's long white hair swayed slightly. The Green Fox sect leader's long ears perked up. He glanced at Lin Feng and said, for the past 10 eras, the Tai Chi origin primal chaos universe and Tai Chi origin primal chaos universe have done our best to help guard the Tai Chi. Why did Tai Chi sect leader favor Lin Feng and give him treasures and even teach him alone? Isn't this biased? Chapter 3190. The Green Fox Hall Master's casual but sharp question immediately attracted the attention of all the cultivators. Fairy Ling Dai and Light, the two cultivators from the Great Change origin and the chaotic universe, were also very curious. They did not care about the treasures, but they also felt that the Taiji sect master was indeed favoring one over the other by doing this. Everyone had done their best for the fourth dimension passage, and the Great Change origin chaos universe had contributed more. It would be fine if they didn't get any rewards, but Dao Wuji had only rewarded Lin Feng. It was indeed a little controversial. Grand Essence Desolate Swan snorted and looked at Lin Feng provocatively. He held his sword with both hands and was ready to fight. The Spirit Erosion sect master's eyes flashed. He was secretly laughing and waiting to watch a good show. He couldn't deal with Dao Wuji openly, so he could only do it secretly. First, he would isolate Dao Wuji and cause him to break with the other origin chaos universes and lose his trust. Since you asked, I'll answer. Dao Wuji was calm and didn't seem to be moved. I do think highly of Lin Feng and can't help but give him a few pointers. As soon as these words were spoken, it instantly caused an uproar. Even Dao Wuji's disciples, Spear God Luo Meng, Bloody, and the Black Thunder Holy Disciple, were envious. They had been the Taiji sect for countless years and rarely received pointers from the sect master. However, Lin Feng had only been in the fourth dimension passage for a short time, but he had already won the sect master's favor. They couldn't help but feel disappointed. When the Soul Erosion sect master saw this, a smile blossomed on his calm face. However, Dao Wuji's tone changed, and he said slowly, "This is mutual. Little friend Lin Feng has contributed to the primal chaos universe, so it is only right that he receive some rewards." Did he deserve it? All the cultivators were stunned. All of you are so petty. Ichin couldn't help but speak. He looked at his old enemy, Grand Essence Desolate Swan, and sneered. How much has Grand Essence contributed? How much has Grand Essence Desolate Swan contributed to the fourth dimension passage? How dare you ask for rewards? Grand Essence Desolate Swan snorted. At least more than you. Two mere almighties and a Yuan venerate dare to boast shamelessly. The chief of the Green Fox sect also looked a little upset, but he still forced a smile and said, "We don't want a reward. It's just that the Taiji sect master favors one over the other, and we can't help but feel uncomfortable. Since we're all in the same boat, we should make things clear. How can we fight against the enemy if we're not of one mind? Cut the crap. The Great Change Origin and the Chaotic Universe have sacrificed more than you, yet they didn't even say a word." Ichin was also a straightforward person. He was like a newborn calf that was not afraid of tigers. He did not care about the reputation of the chief of the Green Fox tribe at all. "You two are so troublesome. What did you say?" Grand Essence Desolate Hope pulled out his blade and shouted angrily. The chief of the Green Fox sect looked even more upset. His face was livid and pale. He was considered an overlord in the Grand Essence Origin Chaotic Universe. So when had he ever been ridiculed like this? "I'm talking about you guys. You don't have any contributions, and yet you're causing so much trouble." Ichin pointed with a single finger, his gaze arrogant as he swept his gaze across. For the past 10 eras, have you guys not discovered any abnormalities in the fourth dimension? Abnormal? All the cultivators were a little stunned. Even the sect leader of the soul erosion sect, who was secretly instigating discord, was stunned. He frowned and thought hard. Ichin suddenly remembered something. For the past 10 eras, the Netherkill clan's attack power did not seem to have increased. Oh, on the side of the Great Change Origin Chaotic Universe, Fairy Ling Dai flapped her beautiful transparent wings and smiled sweetly at Lin Feng. She blinked her eyes and seemed to have understood Ichen's words. Light was still a little confused, but after Fairy Ling Dai transmitted a few words to him, a look of realization appeared on his face. A pair of bright eyes stared straight at Lin Feng, and the third eye between his eyebrows seemed to open faintly. Originally, this was our young friend Lin Feng's privacy. It was not appropriate to announce it. Dao Wuji spoke slowly, his gaze landing on Lin Feng. After getting Lin Feng's permission, Dao Wuji nodded slightly. Young friend Green Fox is right. Since we are fighting against the Netherkill clan together, there should not be any secrets between us. In the past 10 eras, has anyone noticed that the Netherkill clan has not changed much? The sect leader of the Limitless Sect, Spear God Luo Ming, Dark Thunder Holy Disciple, and the other experts of the Great Chaos Origin Chaotic Universe nodded in realization. They were the first batch to resist the Netherkill clan's attacks. Seeing the Netherkill clan's attacks getting stronger and stronger, and the pressure increasing, there was nothing they could do. That kind of attack power that increased a little every time was like a huge monster slowly crushing over. But in the past 10 eras, the Netherkill clan's attacks had indeed slowed down. It seemed that there was not much change. Was it Lin Feng's doing? What did this have to do with Lin Feng? Many pairs of curious and confused eyes looked at Lin Feng and then at Dao Wuji, waiting for an answer. I'm only guessing. I have not asked our young friend Lin Feng in detail. Dao Wuji looked at Lin Feng with a gaze full of admiration. If this old man did not guess wrongly, is Lin Feng able to absorb the will of manifestation and the energy of the dimensional channel? I'm not talented. Although Lin Feng's answer was short, it caused a huge uproar. Everyone was in an uproar. What a joke. Absorb materialized wills and dimensional channel energy? He could absorb that. There was such a monster in the Hongmeng Sea. Dao Wuji received a positive answer and nodded in satisfaction. No wonder Brother Fan sent you here. Is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You have worked hard these days. It is my duty. Lin Feng nodded slightly. Dao Wuji scanned the shocked cultivators. In the past 10 eras, the fourth dimensional channel has only increased its load by 10 viral. Hence, the Netherkill clan's attack power has not changed much. This is all thanks to our young friend Lin Feng. Meritorious deeds are rewarded. Sinful deeds are punished. As the master of the Tai Chi Origin Chaotic Universe, do you think I should reward our young friend Lin Feng? The cultivators of the Tai Chi Origin Chaotic Universe nodded in realization. So that was it. Of course. Of course. Without our young friend Lin Feng's help, we would have been in big trouble. Haha, our young friend Lin Feng alone is worth thousands of soldiers and horses. He gave the Netherkill clan such a vicious blow behind their backs. He deserves a reward. He deserves a bigger one. Everyone was full of praise. Even the Tai Chi sect master, who had always been cold and indifferent, looked at Lin Feng with a slightly better gaze. Only the sect master of the soul eroding sect felt his heart skip a beat. He did not expect this to be the reason. This Lin Feng was a freak. A human could absorb materialized wills? It was too strange. The chief of the Green Fox Manor, who had taken the liberty to ask the question, was the most embarrassed. His face was pale, and he could not stop laughing. He wished he could find a hole to hide in. He had lost all face. Even Huang Jie, who was beside him, lowered his head in embarrassment. Ichin was right. Compared to Lin Feng's contributions, their contributions were insignificant. The difference was too big. Chapter 3191. After this small disturbance, Lin Feng's status in the fourth dimensional passage was different. He had become the center of attention from the original invisible, because his special ability was too strong. It was no joke that one person was equivalent to thousands of soldiers and horses. Originally, the fourth-dimensional passageway's defense had been very difficult. But with Lin Feng's participation, the speed of the dimensional passageway's reinforcement suddenly slowed down, giving them some breathing room. The experts of the Tai Chi Origin Chaotic Universe looked at Lin Feng with smiles. However, Lin Feng was still the same. He would not change because of this. He would still do what he had to do. While absorbing the energy of the fourth-dimensional passage, he would return to the third-dimensional passage from time to time to report the situation of Fan Zhu's fourth-dimensional passage and consume blade light and sword shadow. This guy was quite persistent. Not only was he persistent, but he was also very cautious. He was not as careless as he looked. This was Lin Feng's evaluation of blade light and sword shadow. Although nearly 10 eras had passed, blade light still paid close attention to the dimensional passage. He would rather slow down the reinforcement of the passage than give himself any chance. Every time he absorbed, he could feel blade light and sword shadow's anger. Lin Feng was sure that if he was in front of blade light and sword shadow, he would probably be cut into pieces. However, I really want to have a hearty battle with blade light and sword shadow. Invincible. Lin Feng knew that he was far from being invincible. Not only him, but the other world lords of the Hongmeng Sea were also far from being his match. Even the leader of the 5 world lords, Chaos Dao Monarch, was not invincible. This was a well-known fact. The Nine Hells King of the Netherkill clan could compete with the Hongmeng Sea world lord and even suppress him without using his strongest soul secret technique, Extreme Break. Soon, as Lin Feng absorbed the energy from the fourth-dimensional passageway, he created new saber techniques. He improved every era, and he gained new insights every era. The rapid improvement in his strength made Lin Feng very motivated. Soon, he would be able to fight blade light and sword shadow for once. None of the cultivators knew. Even Shirwan Li and Yi Chen, who were closest to Lin Feng, did not know how strong Lin Feng was. They only knew that he had a special ability to absorb the energy of the passage. Dao Wuji, who guided Lin Feng's use of will, did not know either. 2 eras ago, Lin Feng had already grasped the basics of manifesting willpower. With the further strengthening of the golden heart of the universe, his mental cultivation ability had rapidly improved. Most importantly, Taiji Origin Fruit. Even universe sovereigns would find it hard to obtain even one fruit from the unique Taiji Origin World Tree in the Taiji Origin Chaotic Universe. But Lin Feng had 10 of them. Tai Chi was an extremely profound path in the cultivation of the mind. Although it was only at the entry level, one had to know that even Ancestor Fan was only at this level. Manifesting the impact of willpower allowed Lin Feng to have an additional means of attack. At the same time, it also opened up a brand new path. This was because Lin Feng's previous use of mental cultivation was very crude. He could use the Universe Golden Body and Universe Golden Soul. But the position of the Universe Golden Heart was very important. Like a commander, controlling everything. Or like a military advisor, assisting the two. Something's wrong with Lin Feng. Yi Chen and Shirwan regarded each other and entered the virile space to cultivate. Yi Chen, who had perfected the 4th spear, noticed something wrong with Lin Feng. Under normal circumstances, there would not be any abnormalities when Lin Feng absorbed the energy from the dimensional passageway. At the very most, he would be able to sense some of the manifested wills. However, at this moment, Lin Feng was surrounded by golden primordial qi, and his fighting spirit was clear. Will impact? Lin Feng had been discovered by Invincible? This thought suddenly appeared. Yi Chen's face tensed up. He knew of Lin Feng's ability, but being discovered and not being discovered were 2 different matters. If Invincible World discovered that Lin Feng was secretly absorbing the energy from the dimensional passageway, the impact on his willpower would be small. What was more important was that they would guard the dimensional passageway and prevent Lin Feng from absorbing any more energy. When that happened, the situation in the 4th dimension would worsen again. But Yi Chen was not concerned about this. His only concern was whether Lin Feng could withstand the impact of Invincible's will. Unlike Blade Light and Sword Shadow, Invincible was the strongest world master. It was an unreachable existence. Boom! Lin Feng was indeed experiencing a powerful and domineering impact. Invincible and Blade Light and Sword Shadows were different. It was related to their personalities. Blade Light and Sword Shadows' impact was more self-centered. Invincible's impact was like the arrival of king. There was no joy, anger, sorrow, or joy. It was absolutely domineering. Pung, pung, pung. Majestic power came crushing over. It was just like how he had attacked the infinite Tai Chi formation for the past 20 years. The impact was expressionless and domineering, making one's heart tremble. That pair of fists that could destroy everything was enough to shatter a part of the universe. Invincible was not only stronger than Blade Light and Sword Shadow, but so was his will. His attack was unstoppable. He had not put Lin Feng in his eyes at all. In Invincible's eyes, Lin Feng was just a lowly ant. Or perhaps, in his eyes, all the cultivators in the Hongmeng Sea were the same. But the so-called strongest world masters impact is just SOSO. Lin Feng stood tall, as if he was standing in the middle of a tsunami. Golden Hongmeng power lingered around him. His was firm and firm. At this moment, the golden heart of the universe emitted a bright light. It was perfect, like a piece of art that had finally been completed. The limit was 100 times the golden heart of the universe. After 20 years of absorption from the fourth-dimensional passageway, Lin Feng's golden heart of the universe was finally filled to the brim. In addition to Invincible's arrogance, Lin Feng was filled with the willpower energy that he had stolen for 20 years and fused them for his own use. If it was when he had just entered the fourth dimension, Lin Feng would not have been able to withstand Invincible's attack and would have had to retreat immediately. But now, Lin Feng did not care about Invincible's attack. In the past 20 years, he had already grasped the basics of will manifestation. It was both a basic ability and a combat technique. He could control the strength of the will manifestation and have a deeper understanding of how to use it. Lin Feng could better defend himself against the will attacks. He has indeed erupted. Lin Feng could guess Invincible's personality. He was arrogant, unyielding, and domineering. Lin Feng had continuously blocked the impact of his willpower, which finally caused him to explode. Boundless willpower energy poured down like a torrential storm, crashing down with a loud rumble, wanting to directly kill Lin Feng. Take the last wave. Lin Feng endured Invincible's last majestic will energy and instantly cut off his connection with the dimensional channel. He smiled and retreated. Chapter 3192. Netherkill Dimensional World, Yellow Springs Prison. In front of the dimensional passage, a man with bulging muscles and wounds all over his body had a stern look in his eyes. The thick scar that extended from his forehead to his chin moved slightly, but he was still expressionless. His iron fists were covered by his life weapon, and they were filled with shocking explosive power as if they could destroy everything. Escaped. Invincible of all men did not expect this. He did not notice it before, and only recently did he realize that something was wrong with the dimensional passage. You have some strength, but you do such sneaky things. Invincible of all men's expression was indifferent. How could someone as conceited as him look down on such actions? His eyes flashed, and he could naturally recognize Lin Feng. Lin Feng could hide from Blade Light and Sword Shadow, but he could not hide from Invincible of all men. That was because he was the strongest world master. One day, I will destroy all of you. The Netherkill army will flatten the Hongmeng Sea. Fourth dimension passage. Hua. As the last ray of golden light flashed, Lin Feng completely absorbed and transformed the last wave of Invincible of all men's willpower. At this moment, the universe in his body was filled with faint light, full of vigor. Not only had the universe gold core reached the limit of 100 times saturation, but it was also not empty. Instead, it was filled with willpower. In fact, some of it even overflowed. However, it did not matter if it overflowed, as the universe in his body could accommodate it. Lin Feng's control and usage of willpower had improved a lot compared to before. Are you okay, Lin Feng? Seeing that Lin Feng had returned to normal, I Chen asked. I was discovered. Lin Feng smiled. Seeing that Lin Feng was fine, I Chen also smiled. Invincible World can be considered an old horse that stumbled. He's the most powerful world master, and he only realized after 20 years that you're trying to poach him. How foolish. Lin Feng was a little helpless at I Chen's analogy. However, Lin Feng, you are really powerful. You can even withstand the willpower of all men's willpower without any injuries? I Chen's eyes flashed as he sized up Lin Feng. Are you hiding something from me? It's just that I made some small breakthroughs recently, Lin Feng said. A small breakthrough? I Chen narrowed his eyes. Lin Feng nodded. The golden heart of the universe and the level of mental cultivation have both increased somewhat, so Invincible's willpower attack can't do anything to me. However, if I were to face him head-on, I probably wouldn't even be able to take a single blow from him. I Chen rolled his eyes at Lin Feng. You might as well not have said anything. Who can take a move from Invincible against 10,000? Lin Feng smiled. 5 world lords, they can at least exchange blows with Invincible of 10,000. Brat, you're really something. You haven't even broken through to become an almighty, and you're already thinking of competing with the 5 great cosmos absolute beings. You don't even put me, I Chen, in your eyes? During this period of time, I Chen and Lin Feng had already become good friends. I wouldn't dare. With a hearty laugh, Lin Feng was in a pretty good mood. That's right, brother I Chen. I'll have to trouble you to guard me for a while. I want to enter the dimensional space. All right, I Chen replied straightforwardly. To him, there wasn't much difference between guarding 1 or 2 people. Lin Feng also went straight to the point. Currently, he urgently needed to enter the dimensional space. Just a moment ago, he vaguely felt a trace of a peculiar fluctuation in his body. He couldn't describe it, but it was as if a string deep in his heart had been plucked. Lin Feng's intuition told him that the dimensional space could help him. What was it? Lin Feng didn't know. Following his intuition, Lin Feng instantly entered the dimensional space. Although he hadn't entered it for a while, he was still very familiar with it. The moment he entered, the extremely majestic virile wrapped around his entire body. Vigorous, tyrannical, and kingly. In the dimensional space, virile was the ruler of all energy. This is the feeling. Lin Feng didn't release the power of the Golden Hongmeng to defend himself. This was because he needed this kind of intense pressure to drill into every cell in his body, every trace of blood, every piece of skin, and every bone. Every second felt like a year to Lin Feng. His entire body and mind were integrated into the dimensional space, feeling the completely different changes. The string deep in his heart that couldn't be touched gradually became clearer, as if the clouds were being pulled apart. Lin Feng had already sensed it. He clearly knew what that mysterious fluctuation was. The Hongmeng Yuan body, more intense. Virile mightily suppressed Lin Feng, giving Lin Feng a pressure that could destroy everything. To Virile, this was too easy, too easy. Come. Lin Feng's willpower was incomparably tyrannical. The willpower that spread out from his internal universe protected him. It was the golden heart of the universe, the golden body of the universe, and the golden soul of the universe that had reached the limit. Under the power of the Golden Hongmeng, they seemed to have condensed into a perfect whole, resonating with each other. The golden color condensed and the willpower controlled. Under Virile's immense pressure, Lin Feng felt that his body was slowly changing. The Hongmeng Yuan body was almost a legendary existence in the Hongmeng Sea. Even the leader of the 5 great worlds, the Chaos Dao Monarch, was only at the level of the Hongmeng golden body. This was already very strong. The only chance to achieve the Hongmeng Yuan body was when one broke through to become an almighty. Once the internal universe stabilized and formed, it couldn't be transformed anymore. However, Lin Feng was ahead of time. This was because he had already met all the requirements for transformation. Why did the Hongmeng golden body transform into the legendary Hongmeng Yuan body only when one broke through to become an almighty? This was because there was a great mystery during the breakthrough. There was the power of the way of the heavens that dominated everything and controlled everything. However, Viral could also do this in the dimensional space. As for the basic limit of transforming the Hongmeng Yuan body, Lin Feng had already reached 100 times the golden body of the universe, 100 times the golden soul of the universe, and 100 times the golden heart of the universe. The only thing he lacked was the quantity of the Hongmeng Yuan body. Ever since he entered the dimensional space, Lin Feng had been improving. With the treasures and rewards from Fan Zhu and Dao Wuji, the Hongmeng Yuan body was still a distance away from 100%. Currently, it was 69%. However, this wasn't the deciding factor. 100% Hongmeng Yuan body could transform, 80% Hongmeng Yuan body could transform, and 50% Hongmeng Yuan body could transform as well. The only difference was that the increase after the transformation was different. Compared to the strength of the Hongmeng Yuan body, these small increases could be ignored. However, Lin Feng didn't want to ignore them. It was as if he had broken through the shackles and gained control of his will. Lin Feng gritted his teeth and allowed Viral to enter his body. At this moment, the Hongmeng Yuan body was twisted into a ball and was indestructible. The transformation had begun. Viral's entry was as if it had been forcefully recruited into the army and became one of its members. Although it was only a small amount, it was Viral, the leader of all forms of energy. This small amount instantly filled up the remaining 31% of Lin Feng's Hongmeng Yuan body. It almost exploded. Lin Feng gritted his teeth so hard that it felt like they were about to shatter. The boundless and tyrannical power of the dimensional energy was unimaginable. The will of all the golden concretions was mobilized, and Lin Feng had perfect control over them. Not only was he transforming the Hongmeng Yuan body, but he was also giving himself a huge challenge. Assimilating Viral.